Hi, everybody. Hi, Neil and Jim Fulton.
All right. We have our Brazilian friends with us as guest hosts today. And I'll explain why at some point in the show during the getting to know us. But anyway, they're from the Farol de Pouso podcast or something similar to that.
Close enough.
Yeah. And I was on their show yesterday. Well, I'm going to tell you now, but I'll talk about it again on Getting to Know Us segment. But I was with them on their show recording yesterday, and yeah, spent a lot of time talking, as you can imagine. So
No,
anyway,
not
so
you. Hi,
we
Mike
welcomed.
K.
I invited them to come on because one of our news items involves a crash in Brazil.
Yeah, did you
And
like how I chose that? That was pretty good on my part.
yeah, how did you do that before you even knew that I was going to be on their show? Wow. Yeah. That. See if I can find that sound effect. Here we go.
That's it.
That's not the one I was looking for, actually.
Well, it's close enough. That would drive my dog nuts. Luckily, she can't hear the headphones on.
Or if you're more of a fan of... Oh, I can't do that. Oh, yeah. So much for monetization of the video.
Yeah, but you didn't hit the 5-second mark, so I think that's good.
Well, you can cut it out. We haven't started really the show yet. You can
no, it doesn't matter because
we're on YouTube,
even when we're not even streaming, they are.
That's true. I hear you. Go pick
listening.
it up.
Yeah,
go pick it up.
So, but that's okay because we don't monetize our podcast. I mean, our videos anyway. So
they can't punish you, so whatever.
Yeah. I believe João is in the backstage.
Yeah.
Here in the room.
Oh shoot! I'm sorry. I wasn't paying attention. Sorry about that. Oh, he's going to go by John. You. Oh, thank you.
Yeah, John is easier. I know. Yeah. João doesn't help at all.
Now, were you the one that was in the Airbus and your uniform yesterday?
Almost Airbus, Embraer.
Embraer, okay. Well, yeah. I mean, it didn't look like anything familiar to me, so it was not a McDonnell Douglas and was not a Boeing.
I've been flying the E-Jets for 1 year.
Oh, cool. Very good. Congratulations.
Yeah,
sorry, I didn't see you. You were below in my window, so I couldn't see that you were there. And I forgot. See, with everybody else, they sign in as me, and so they just pop themselves in. And I'm not used to looking for other people and putting them in the thing.
I was the guy who was delayed here, so my apologies.
Oh no, perfect.
I was in another class right now, so.
Oh yeah, well, I'm glad you were able to make it. We were just chatting, and we just started the live stream, and but we're not actually, starting the show recording quite yet. We are just still gabbing, if that's a word in Portuguese. I'm not sure. So you're where now, John?
I'm close to São Paulo. It's Campinas.
Oh, so you're in the same place at...
the same place as
Henry is.
Yeah. Enrique.
Yeah, I know.
That's we already had that battle, so don't know whatever.
Well, we want to watch it. Do it again.
No, the battle about my name, which is Henrique.
That's true. Oh,
João lives a little bit off from where I live. He lives in the rich part of the city.
Oh.
A poor guy living in the rich part of the city. Probably my days are just counting, so
you're numbered, yeah.
Okay, I just remembered I need to get my Reaper all set up so you guys continue to gab and talk to our lovely people in our live audience, and do whatever you need to do.
This is a good time for you guys in Europe, eh, guys? We're always getting complaints that we're too late for over there, so I would think, Neil, you're happy today, and who else is here from? John. Where are you, John Abrams? Where are you coming from? Not sure. Oh, Jim Fulton. I think you're in the UK. Yes, right?
I think he's UK.
Yep.
Yeah, just saw the comments here. That's nice. I didn't know there were a lot of guys here.
They're
Nice.
That's
built
because you
into
got
our.
late here to get to learn the tools.
Yeah, I missed
Colorado.
I
Thank you,
missed,
John.
I missed the briefing. I missed everything. I'm sorry.
Sorry
Yeah,
for
so
the
if you want
brutal
to,
honesty.
yeah, if you
There's-
want to during the show leave for whatever reason, when you turn your camera off, your mic is still hot. So just make sure you mute your mic as well, John. And anytime, and this is kind of like what you guys did with Google Meet yesterday. This is just kind of the making the sausage, as we like to say, where if not everything that we cover or record here on the video is going to make it into the most of it will, but not everything will make it into the audio. So we can stop at any time. Sometimes we have technical glitches.
Well,
and
you
we
won't have to
stop
cut
and
out
move.
all of Captain Nick's inappropriate jokes. So
That's
maybe
true.
all of
This
it will
is going to
make
be
it in.
so. It's going to be so much easier to edit.
There's our new favorite screen name joining us at 3 a.m. in Australia. KFC make good winglets. Hi.
Oh, KFC make good winglets.
Yeah.
Okay,
Like it.
I guess I don't know. I haven't had a KFC
3 a.m.
winglet.
That's pretty dedicated, I have to say.
That is very, very dedicated. Thank you, KFC make good winglets. It's hard to say that very quickly.
Sometimes we have technical glitches. You're right, Neil. Sometimes.
Neil, that's enough out of you. I'd have
I
to
enjoyed
boot him
that,
out.
Neil, for some reason. I just liked it.
Yeah, he's funny. No, he is. He is a very funny guy.
He is a very funny guy. We have lots of funny
Um,
people in our chat room.
We do. Okay.
I mean that in a good way, you people.
Mhm.
Not,
Funny looking.
well, we can't see them,
Um,
but I'm sure they're all
yeah.
really good looking.
Oh, yeah, the best.
Oh,
All right, so we kind
Are
of
you
did a
ready?
sound check, but just to kind of confirm with our sound specialists online.
Yeah, Mike K.
Yeah, Mike Kuipers, the mayor of APG, just let us know if our volumes or levels are pretty close. And then I'm going to do, while we're doing that, I'm going to hit Radio Roger.
You're listening to the Airline.
I don't mean I'm going to hit him because he's not actually physically here.
You're listening to the Airline Pilot Guy Show.
The view from our side of the cockpit door.
WAPG.
Okay, is that too loud? Let us know.
Sounds good for me. Hi,
Let's
Mazoos.
see. Oh, I need to get my script ready. You'd think that after doing this since 2015,
Mike K gives you
2016.
the thumbs up audio wise there, Jeff.
Okay. See, she even talks over me when I'm talking in StreamYard. Sorry, Liz. It's one thing when she's talking over me in the back channel, but it's another when she's here in StreamYard. How rude.
You asked
I
about
I think
audio.
I heard one of your episodes where she thought she was on the backstage, on the backline. Sorry. She thought she was on the backline, but she was actually live to everybody. And then
Oh, that never
was the
happens.
first time.
That can't be done.
Ah, never.
That was so fun.
Yeah.
Well, we on occasion make little boo-boos
We sometimes have technical glitches.
sometimes, very rarely.
Very rarely.
Yeah, Jim, F1, that was a great race in Singapore. Hey, are you guys F1 fans? I mean, do you have F1 in Brazil?
Yeah.
Yeah, we have.
kidding.
I don't know if you have heard of Vienna, maybe.
Yeah,
Ooh, I opened a box, didn't I? Pandora's box.
yeah,
Open.
and I don't know if you saw the calendar, but I think the second to last race is here in São Paulo. So.
Oh.
All right.
Hey, Jeff, look where
Yeah.
Mazoos is.
Is he in DC?
Yep. Waiting for
Yeah.
for Captain.
Yeah,
Nick
I know.
to-
He contacted me last week and said if I were up in the Washington area that he was going to be there, and
Yeah.
I didn't mention it because I didn't know if you wanted me to, make that a public thing or not. But hey, anybody in the DC area you want to, or I guess actually
I
Virginia.
think he's in the
Dulles.
lounge now, Jeff. So
In the
kind of
lounge.
it's-
Okay. Yeah. Anybody at the Dulles International Airport, head up to the lounge and
Anybody
look
on
for
Virgin
Dr.
Final.
Kareem. Just do a PA over the
Right.
Dulles Airport. Paging Dr. Kareem.
Go to the white
Mazoos Kareem.
telephone.
Go to the white phone. Okay.
Okay, I'm ready.
I know. You're always ready. I have to just do one. You know me. I'm never going to be ready right away.
I know. That's why I have to keep pushing you.
I know. So I just need to focus, and I have troubles with that sometimes. I love your whistling, though. I really do.
How's the new engine, Camacho man?
Still sitting in a crate.
Oh, okay.
I'm trying to
When's it
finish up
coming out
my-
of the crate?
I'm hoping maybe on Friday.
Oh,
Cool.
will you have like an unboxing thing like they do on, an
Um,
unboxing?
probably
like a
not.
video?
I guess I could.
Mm. I just think we're all pretty invested in this whole engine.
Yeah.
Well, not literally, we're not. Don't get me wrong there.
Yeah, so you guys just noted how much I pay attention to the private chat. I'm sorry, and now I see the messages. Hey, I'm in the backstage. Let me in. I'm not ignoring you if we don't see the private chat message there because we're not
Yes,
used to
you are.
using that.
Actually, I didn't know there was a public comment that I could use, so I could have used it, but I didn't know. So
Yeah, and I probably wouldn't have seen it there either because Liz is the one that's usually paying attention to that. Goes, Jeff, there's a good comment in the chat. Anyway. John, I was going to say that I've already discussed this with your cohorts here, how we're going to do the intro, and maybe you guys can send him like a private message on what we're going to do,
Sure.
so that everybody in the live audience here can be surprised as well.
of course,
And then Camacho's going like, "What are you talking about?" Here, wait a minute.
Nick Camacho, can you just speak a little? Mike Kuipers is saying you're a little low. Could
I'm
you
a little low.
That's better, I think. Is that better? Talk a little bit.
Talk a little bit more.
You're gonna
No.
you're gonna have to reset your
Yeah, I hear a little crack.
Motu because there's that USB thing going on.
Hey, sweetheart.
Liz gets impatient. She wants to get this thing on the road. Did he mean that you're low in volume?
Yes, he did.
Or low sitting height?
No, low in volume.
Both.
Or low in mood. Is he depressed?
Oh, are you low? Are you blue? Let me make sure this video is still going to work.
Yeah.
Nope.
Oh, no, it looks frozen.
No, it's actually, yeah, it is frozen.
Mhm.
Gosh darn it. StreamYard. Okay.
Did you do something with the settings? It will
No.
not let me unclick. Oh, there it goes. Now it will let me unclick the mic, automatic mic volume.
No, I didn't do anything.
I don't know what's going on.
Okay. We're just trying to catch up with you. But that's sounding better now.
I think your volume sounds good now, Nick. to
Okay.
me.
Hearing a little bit of room noise, but I can take care of that in post. I guess it's probably just your HVAC.
Yeah,
stuff
hold on a
going
second.
No, leave it on. I don't want you to burn up. Well, shouldn't have said anything.
Yes, you do. You just care about your audio quality.
Well, I do, but I can fix stuff. If I can fix stuff before, like doing the live, the easier it is for me in the post. And
Yes.
if any of you guys on your
28 degrees feeling like 30 degrees in Wichita. Thanks a lot, Jeff.
Oh, I can tell you the temperature here in Dubai today.
Please.
Yeah. You think
40
you have it bad in
something?
Wichita. Yeah. 45, I think.
We are 113 Fahrenheit today.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's hot.
Hot.
Yeah.
Hot.
And Jeff, because you should know temperatures from ETARS, it's 32 here in Campinas.
Okay. Don't say it. 86. It's what did you say it was? 80.
32.
What's 32? That's like 90 Fahrenheit, I think.
Do you think he knows that?
Oh, yeah. I thought he was testing me.
Do you think
Yeah.
we do this math here? Brazil?
Yeah. No, it's 89.6 Fahrenheit freedom
Yeah,
units.
round it
Close
up
enough.
to
Close
90.
enough.
That's 90.
Yeah, very
Yeah,
good.
almost
Bing.
9.
Hey guys,
Ah.
UHF Blackhawk in the chat room has a connection there to Brazil. He's saying his brother was a
His
Navy.
brother was a U.S. Navy P-3 pilot, spent several years in Brazil as assistant naval attaché, retired as an Acme A330 pilot.
Cool.
Cool.
That's awesome.
Cool.
That's
Awesome.
good.
And here's Gubby from Dubai, right? Gubby, you're in Dubai?
Yeah, Gubby, this guy over here, bottom right square, is in Dubai as well.
Cool, that's nice.
And okay, so yeah, you're sounding much better, Camacho. Thank you for doing
Yes,
that.
thank you.
And
Your video working now, Jeff?
Mine?
You wanted to test your video and it was frozen. Is it working now?
Oh, you're not talking about this video, but the video.
The
Oh,
video.
Okay. Well, I tried to do it, and I'm not going to add it until right before because maybe let me do it now. Maybe it might work. Okay. Video file.
It won't
So
work.
we have a
That's
way
what
of
we did last
playing.
time.
We have a way of video.
Gubby's in Abu Dhabi. Somebody's in Abu
StreamYard.
Dhabi, right?
Oh, Abu Dhabi.
I used to
Sorry,
live there
Gubby.
for 5 years. Yeah, just 180 miles down the road here from Dubai.
But in
Oh,
a
so it's
different
not too
time
far.
zone, right?
Oh no, Dubai and Abu Dhabi are the same country, same place.
Oh.
Doha in
Doha,
Qatar,
oh.
which is
I don't know.
slightly
They're all
different.
sort of all mixed up in my
That
mind.
other part of the world, way over there.
Everything fits in Texas.
There. Okay. All right. Well, I'm not sure exactly how this is going to go, but we're just going to find out,
It'll
aren't
be
we?
fine. Just fine.
It'll be fine. Okay.
I'm ready.
It's just us friends. Thank you, Liz. But is Roger ready, Liz?
Always.
Okay. Roger, hit it.
You're listening to the Airline Pilot Guy Show.
The view from our side of the cockpit door.
WAPG. It's the Airline Pilot Guy.
Airline Pilot Guy, episode 586.
Yeah, he's up in the sky. It's the Airline Pilot Guy.
Hello, you're listening to the Airline Pilot Guy Show, the view from our side of the cockpit door, with your host, Captain Jeff, broadcasting live from Studio 1A at APG headquarters in Roswell, Georgia. Today's show is recorded on the 20th of September, 2023.
Yeah, he's up in the sky. It's the Airline Pilot Guy. Picture light and he's flying by. With the Airline Pilot Guy.
Two planes racing over Reno collide, killing both pilots. A testy conversation between an FAA examiner and a tower.
Let's leave the controller training off of frequency. Sir, you fly the airplane, I'll fly the tower. How's that?
Also more news and your feedback. So get all settled in. Tray tables and seat backs in the upright and lock positions. Electronic devices powered on. I'm Radio Roger, and Flight 586 is ready for pushback.
Thank you, Radio Roger. He's an award-winning TV and radio reporter currently at the #1 all-news station in the nation. 1010 wins on 92.3 FM in
New York City.
Welcome to the Airline Pilot Guy Show. It's an aviation podcast covering the latest in aviation news and answering your great feedback. I'm Captain Jeff, a pilot at a major legacy airline based in Atlanta, Georgia. And joining us from his home studio in the air capital, low and slow pilot, AMP mechanic, old airplane enthusiast, and engineer in the aerospace and defense industry. It's Nick Camacho.
Hey, Captain Jeff and crew, glad to be back. See some new faces.
Awesome. Great to see you again as well, Nick. And also joining us from various locations around the world, they are co-hosts of the Farol de Pouso Aviation podcast. Welcome. Just one of you just start talking to us and introducing yourselves.
Bom, então muito obrigado por a gente estar aqui, pelo convite, Capitão Jeff. I'm sorry.
Wait. Hang on. Well, no, shoot. Everything is just falling apart here. Now, what in the heck are you thinking? What are you doing? This is an English aviation podcast.
Yeah, so no, I just want to trade because yesterday we had to spend like some hours with you in English. So today we thought that would be a good idea to bring this up in Portuguese.
You thought that'd be a good idea?
Yeah, really,
Okay.
a really great idea. Why not, right?
That is not a good idea. All right. So, yes, we did that on purpose, people. Thank you. So we have John and Enrique and Guillermo.
Yeah.
Well,
No.
I nailed it.
It's the
Wait a
most
minute. Come on.
difficult
No,
one.
no,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're going to talk to them a little bit more in our Getting to Know Us segment soon after we talk a little bit about the
Jim
news.
Fulton isn't sure we do our show in English.
Jim Fulton, enough of you. Who has the wrench
do.
thing to get rid of people?
But I think he's staying.
He's out of here.
He's staying.
Okay, he'll stay. All right. Well, that voice you hear, of course, is she's from A Place to Stand and A Place to Grow with lots of snow. Well, it's probably pretty much
Not quite
gone
yet.
now. Yeah, she is, of course, our producer, Liz Piper.
Hi, everybody.
All right. Hey, we're all together. That's it for the APG hosts, but we have these fine guest hosts with us, and they're going to help us analyze the news and feedback. But let's go ahead and just move right on into the news. What do you think?
See you later.
Stand by for news.
All right. The first item in our news notebook is this tragedy that occurred in Reno. And let me just play a little bit of a video here. And I know you can't hear it because I haven't pressed the button yet. Here we go. Gosh darn it. Why does StreamYard do this? Okay, let me remove from the studio. Try it one more time. Already we're having issues. Already. And here we go.
Farol that the Reno Air Racing Association announces that around 2:15 this afternoon, at the conclusion of the T6 Gold race.
I'm going to rewind that and start from the beginning because it kind of cut off the couple first words.
It is with great sorrow that the Reno Air Racing Association announces that around 2:15 this afternoon, at the conclusion of the T6 Gold race, upon landing, two planes collided. It has been confirmed that both pilots are deceased. The Reno Air Race Board of Directors and the T6 class president are working to notify the next of kin and ensure families have all of our support. There were no civilian injuries, and we're in the process of confirming additional details around the incident. Additional information will be released as soon as it is available. At this time, now don't take this wrong, at this time it says all racing operations are currently suspended. Currently is the word. Safety is the foremost concern of the Reno Air Race Association, and we work year-round to host the safest event possible.
Hello guys, welcome.
Okay, there's a little bit of a video and recording of the announcement made at the Reno Air Races. And yeah, a tragedy. It didn't actually occur in the race, but just shortly after, what was it, the AT6 Gold race, I believe. And
Yep.
yeah, so Nick Camacho, you're our resident warbird expert, and you hang out at Reno Air Races every now and then, don't you?
Yeah, I've been out there a handful of times.
Yeah. So I asked you before we recorded the show if you knew these two gentlemen that lost their lives in this accident, and you said no. But just
Right.
tell us in general. I mean, I know that they had that tragedy several years ago where was it a Mustang that
Yep.
crashed into the audience and killed, I
Mhm.
think, 10 people in the audience and
Yep.
the pilot of that. But you haven't really heard a lot of tragic crashes going on since then. Seems like they've made some good efforts in improving the safety there.
Yeah, they had one fatality last year in a jet race. They had obviously there are in testing and stuff. There are fatalities leading up to the races, but in terms of during the week of the races, these two T6s, the jet last year. I'm trying to think prior to that when the last time was. There was, there's a bad year, and I think about 2007 where they had 3 different fatalities. I think they had maybe 2 Formula One airplanes collide, and then a separate maybe jet incident. I don't recall, but there have definitely been a couple of different isolated instances of accidents or incidents out there. But for the most part, it's been a pretty well-run function. And the sad part beyond the loss of life and the unfortunate accident there, this was the last organized race at Reno. The Air Race Association is trying to maintain the races and continue at a different location, but they're still looking for another location. So this was the last time that it was going to be in Reno, as it's been since 1964. They had a couple of years. They didn't fly in 2001, and 2011 was curtailed early in the week, like you mentioned. But that T6 incident did end the day on Sunday, so they did not get to finish out the rest of the race slate.
And did you say that this is the last year at Reno?
In Reno, yep.
In Reno, and where are they going to hold it in the future? Or
they don't know. They're still looking for. They're still looking for another location, and it's pretty challenging. Location wise, it's pretty challenging because you have to have multiple runways accessible for emergencies during the race. You want someplace that is remote enough that you can have these large race courses flying over uninhabited area, but you want to be close enough to city centers to be able to support lodging and hosting, 100,000 people or however many tens of thousands of people show up. So Reno was kind of a uniquely well suited for that because they had Stead Field, which was, I think, maybe a 25 or 30 minute drive from the center of Reno. But it was out kind of into the desert, so there wasn't a bunch of development around it initially. But here, maybe in February of this year, either the city of Reno or the Reno Airport Authority, whoever manages the relationship between the air race organization and the airport ownership, announced that they would not be renewing the lease or whatever agreement they had to operate the races there. And I think I don't have any inside information on that, but I think it just had to do with the impact that the races had on that area, both in terms of it brought a lot of money into the region. I think back in 2011, when the Mustang situation that you mentioned happened, and they were discussing whether or not the races were going to continue, they were throwing around numbers off the top of my head. I think it was like $70 or $80 million of fiscal impact to that area. So it's not an insignificant event for businesses and the people there. But also there were some developments, I think, starting to crop up near the race area. So it was making it a little more challenging to continue hosting the races. Obviously, just liability exposure in general and the insurance situation. Insurance situation is bad for everyone in aviation right now. So I can't imagine that didn't have some impact on the decision also. So yeah, they made that announcement in February, and the air race, the RARA, which is the Air Race Association, has been very proactive about at least getting the word out that they'd like to continue the races and they're looking for a place. But as of right now, I don't think they have anything set in stone.
Okay. Any of our guests have anything to add to the crash or Reno air races in general, or shall we move on to the next article, which I'm sure that I'll get some good commentary from our Brazilian guest hosts. And that item, of course, is a plane crash. This is from, let me see, from g1.globo.com. The plane crashed in the Amazonas, Brazil. The plane left Manaus, capital of Amazonas, bound for Barcelos. I don't know. I'm probably butchering all this. Barcelos. There we go. According to the government of Amazonas, 12 victims were passengers, 2 crew members. It crashed there in Barcelos in the interior of Amazonas. Stop it. On Saturday. Oops, that's not right. On Saturday afternoon, according to the government, 14 people died. G1, the source here, had access to the passenger list. Of the 14 people, 12 were passengers, 2 were crew. They were all men. The governor of AM, Wilson Lima, said that all passengers were Brazilian tourists who practice sport fishing, and they would go fishing in the Rio Negro. The plane is an Embraer EMB 110 Bandeirante, or it's probably pronounced like this in Brazilian.
Bandeirante.
Yeah, I nailed it, didn't I? And let's see, prefix Papa Tango Sierra Oscar Golf was manufactured in 1991 with a capacity for up to 18 passengers. It was operated by the company Manaus Aerotaxi. It took off from Manaus bound for Barcelos. According to the National Civil Aviation Agency, the aircraft's condition was regular. It's always good to be regular. The cause of the accident are not yet known. Bad weather in the region may have contributed to the accident, according to civil defense. It was raining heavily at the time of the fall of the accident, I guess. 2 aircraft that were going to land on the Barcelos runway before the flight that crashed canceled their landing for safety reasons. And then finally here, the Secretary of Public Security of Amazonas, Colonel Vincius Almeida, said that although there is still no conclusive data on what happened, according to reports from the residents in the area, the aircraft landed but did not have enough runway to brake or to stop. And I was talking about this with our guests here yesterday. It looked, based on the photos that we have seen from this, it almost looks like it was a survivable accident to me. But I guess, maybe the deceleration forces were just so strong, even though it looks like the aircraft is not really mostly intact, but partially intact. I guess maybe the deceleration forces were just so strong that it just killed everybody with blunt trauma or something. I don't know. So what do you think here? Tell us a little bit about what you might know about this, any of our 3 guests.
This is quite a dramatic accident, and all of us here in Brazil are shocked with this accident. No one expected. And personally speaking, I use it to work in the company located just close to the side by side with this company in Manaus. So I saw this plane many times, and from what I've heard, looks like maybe tailwind had played a factor in this accident. It's all guesses, right? So we consider about a deep landing followed by a rejected landing. Maybe it rains a lot in the Amazon rainforest, so when it's raining, it's really tricky. The ceiling is really reduced. It takes maybe 1 hour more to get this rain or shower dissipated. So it's a tricky environment to fly in, definitely.
Have you flown to this particular location before?
Probably more than 10 times, definitely.
Okay, so you're familiar with it.
Yeah,
How's the airport itself? How's the runway? Is it it's probably not a grooved runway, or it's probably slippery when it's wet?
No, it's not grooved. I've flown in, I cannot say a similar condition because I didn't see how was the weather in this particular event, but I have flown when it was raining or just after raining. I don't remember any problem regarding braking action of the runway. I don't recall about any complaints regarding the runway, if it's slippery or not. So for me, it is a good runway. It's really good. 1,200 meters long. So I can say almost 4,000 feet. 4,000,
Okay.
yeah, 4,000 feet, I think.
Yeah.
If my math allows me, I think it's something closer to that.
I think it would be something close to that. Yeah.
Yeah. So I consider it as a good runway. However, for the Bandeirante operation itself, it's like is what we need for a safe operation. If you have something shorter than that, it can be not that good for safe operation. If you consider to follow the performance calculations and stuff. So 1,200 meters is quite good. However, as I told you, tailwind, maybe the rain, maybe contaminated runway. Who knows? Right.
Guy?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I'd like to start with our condolences to the families of the pilots and the families of the passengers, obviously. And well, just like John, I flew the Bandeirante, but in a different company, different time. And what I can say about the airplane, obviously, two engines. I'm looking at my iPad with my notes here with two engines, a turboprop 19-seater. It's an airplane in its construction and conception is a very simple airplane to be flown. It depends on the what you have on your dashboard in terms of equipment and what you have available on the ground that will take you and lead you to the running safely. But thinking about this accident, it's very hard to obviously get to conclusions at this moment with so little information. I'm not sure about the equipments that this specific airplane carried, but the ones that I flew back in the days, they had only the CVR, just the voice recorders to be recovered. And we'll see how it goes from then on. In Brazil, we have a very competent military organization that deals with investigations, which is called CENIPA. And I'm sure these guys are going to do a great job on finding out what happened. As per the pictures, you see it's a crash that literally just hit front-wise, like on the end of the runway. So probably, like you said, the deceleration would be the final reason for that. How they end up in that situation, I'll leave to the to CENIPA to give that. Yeah, sure.
Yeah. And just to let you guys know, like CENIPA, it's the equivalent of the NTSB for us down here.
Okay, good.
Yeah, thanks, Henrique.
All right. Well, yeah, as I said, our condolences to all the folks that lost their lives and their family and friends. And, our prayers and thoughts go with all of them. And, yeah. So,
yeah, as Guy said, just a highlight again. I'm guessing according to what I received on WhatsApp, and everything is purely guess, So I'm not judging at the pilot as well.
Right.
I don't think that if what they did, I'm not trying to guess what they did. I'm just trying to bring some highlights of what could have happened, but I'm not considering if their actions were right or not. So just
a few characteristics of the region, Jeff, and people with us is that because it's in the Amazon jungle, and that region is very humid, very hot. It grows big CB clouds all over the place every time, and it takes a long time to dissipate. Like John said before, sometimes the information about those cells' existence itself doesn't go so fast on the meteorological information system, and that thing can grow up really fast. So eventually, this guy might have been caught with that as well. So.
Yeah, sometimes when I look at South America and the radar images and satellite imagery, I see some of those storms. I'm thinking, oh my gosh,
yeah,
that's just...
It's very close to the ITCZ as well. So
I love that place.
Yeah, very unfortunate to be crossing that line up and down every week.
Oh, you do?
It's a quite tricky region, especially flying those small aircraft, and with talking about the aircraft I've flown, you cannot rely 100% on your radar as well, right? So your weather radar, so it is delicate. It's really complicated operation. Although we do it yearly and we go to Barcelos, as the news says, from September to February is the high demand season. So we have lots of flights to Barcelos with features. So we're used to this operation. However, when the weather catches us, as Guy said, is something sometimes we cannot predict.
Yeah. Well, as I mentioned in this article, at least the information that we have from G1, 2 previous attempts at landing from 2 other airplanes were waved off. They decided to go around and not attempt the landing at the time. So, yeah. So you make a good point here on the show. We talk about these things. A lot of times we don't really have much information at all about what happened, and we can only make some guesses about that. But as you said, we won't really know for sure until the investigatory agencies have a chance to do all the the deep diving into all the circumstances and come up with what they think are the probable causes. So we are just let's see, Blackhawk in our live audience says, I love South American destinations, but not flying there due to the weather. Yeah. He
Yeah,
loves the
and
people, but not the weather.
yeah, and the weather here, it works a little bit different compared to the United States and the Northern Hemisphere. So the season that we tend to have those severe thunderstorms, especially in the Amazon region, it's now in this time of the year. Even though summer is chaotic as well, there is some peculiarities to the season. So it's always challenging for us to fly over there, and not just flying like the Bandeirantes. I think João can talk a little about what he's currently flying as well. That can go a little bit higher than that, and it's always tricky to fly over there.
Yeah,
and especially because it's you don't have many cities in this region, so thinking about an alternate as well is something hard, because you need to carry extra fuel, more than you would carry if you're flying southern Brazil. So, and you have the weather factor, so sometimes you divert to a place that is worse than the one you diverted. So some of the factors that we have in Amazon.
and sometimes people decide not to try to land somewhere, and they try to go to their alternate destination, and they don't make it, and they land in an open field. And we're going to talk about that soon in our list of news items. Well, thank you very much for your comments regarding this, and we'll keep our eyes and ears open to hear what they. Yeah, maybe a good point. Liz is saying, maybe we can have you guys back when they do kind of come up with that final report. And of course, that may be some time, and it depends on how much money they give me, if they're going to come back or not. That's a joke. Another comment from Kyle Rostevchev.
Rostovichek.
Who happens to be part of Farol de Pouso.
One of ours, yeah.
Oh, how did you know how to pronounce his name? Okay, he says...
Nobody knows how to pronounce that.
Okay, he or she, I'm not sure, says Amazon is the backcountry flying in Brazil. Okay, background like the Outback or something, huh? Yeah, I think you guys have given us a really good idea of the conditions and the geography and the climate in that area. So that's awesome. All right, let's continue on then with our next item, which is it's a video. So let me quickly upload that, and a setup for this. Yeah, I can do that. Okay, before I play the video, which hopefully, fingers crossed, is going to play, let me set up this news item. There's a company, an organization called liveatc.net. that is pretty prolific here in the North American continent, and especially the United States. That a lot of volunteers record audio communications, different communications channels, and somebody had theirs all set up to hear the conversation occurring at an airport in the San Francisco Bay Area, San Carlos. And apparently, it's a place where they do a lot of flight training. And one of the flight training flights up there, it apparently might have been a check ride. There was an FAA examiner or a designated examiner on board the flight. We're doing some pattern work at San Carlos. And now we're going to hear a little bit of the communications with the very pleasant tower people. From Bass Aviation, our friends. Real aviation communications and liveatc.net. Okay, they're showing the sectional.
3514, extend downwind to the cement, extend downwind to the Kaiser Hospital, runway 30, clear to land. Extending downwind, clear to land 30, base 514.
Just showing some visuals here on the
Sequencing
video.
base 514. Base 514 has been clear to land. Roger, base 514. Gotta listen. Base 514, you're instructed to turn base at the Kaiser Hospital. I'm familiar with Kaiser Hospital, base 514. Then why didn't you say something? What do you want me to do, base 514? You land the airplane, sir. Base 530, traffic is following is extended to the Kaiser Hospital.
Negative, Base 530 is a Coyote Hills departure.
Sorry, Base 530. Base 522, your traffic is at the Kaiser Hospital.
Traffic at Kaiser Hospital, base flight 22. Traffic in sight, base flight 22.
Base flight 22, runway 30, number 2, cleared option.
Number 2, clear for the option, runway 30, flight 22.
657, question, Base 514, left at Delta taxi parking via Juliet. Left at Delta taxi parking via Juliet. Base 514. Base 514, ask someone in there where the Kaiser Hospital is, will you? Roger, Base 514. Everyone knows where that is that flies out of here.
Let's start the training off the air, shall we?
I'm sorry, who is that?
This is the examiner on board plate 14. I'm saying let's leave the controller training off of frequency.
Sir, you fly the airplane, I'll fly the tower. How's that? Mr. Examiner, why don't, if a pilot doesn't know a command, isn't he required to ask the controller for a clarification?
You're partly blocked.
If a pilot does not know what a controller is instructing him to do, isn't he required to ask for clarification?
Take it off air, sir.
I'm not taking anything off air. Have a good day.
Okay, and a little prologue to this video here. Let's see. The incident was with a designated pilot examiner on board who had the opportunity to talk afterward. He said that the incident immediately got run up the chain of command in the San Jose FSDO, Flight Services District Office. Is that right, Camacho? Both of our two controllers are in serious trouble of losing their jobs. Yeah, so, okay. Is this the right way to have communications at an airport with, you know, well, let me start. He did instruct the student pilot, I'm assuming a student pilot or a pilot on a check ride of some sort, we're assuming again, to extend to the Kaiser Hospital. And he does make a point that if you don't understand what it was that you were supposed to do, as far, because that's critical, you know, you want to make sure that you're turning your base where the tower wants you to turn base. If you don't really know where that is, then it is an important thing to query about where is the Kaiser. I'm not familiar. Where is the Kaiser Hospital? Call my base or something like that. But on the other hand, I think that everybody here would agree with me. the tower controller was really, really out of line as far as the comments he was making and being very snarky. And then some of his editorial commentary regarding, what the pilot should be doing, et cetera. And just really, again, just completely inappropriate comments being made by the controller. Very snarky, very sarcastic, very. Anyway, that's my feel for it. Camacho, I know that you're the one that mentioned this before we started recording. You said let's talk about this because this is just not. This is not the right way to do things.
Yeah, I mean, a number of things frustrated me there. Right, first of all, the controllers should be there to assist the pilots in operating their airplane in the safest manner that they can. And I feel like the way that this controller dealt with this situation is complete opposite, right? Like he gave him he gave him a command, or he told him what to do. Yeah, so the pilot should have said, "I don't understand." Like that's, I think everyone would agree to that. But the fact that the controller continued to, it didn't seem like there were any comments regarding like a loss of separation or any actual safety issues. And I think the thing that frustrates me the most is that this guy was using a call sign, like a specialized call sign, right? Which is probably, I assume there's a flight school on the field there, because you heard a couple of other airplanes also using that Bay Flight name. Right. And so take that part out of the equation. I think the controller acted completely inappropriately. His desire to engage in this confrontational situation, all of that's bad. And then it's just magnified even more when you think about the fact that he knows exactly where that guy is flying out of. He could solve this problem by going down there and talking to the flight school. He could have a positive interaction with the student and the flight school. Even if he had a negative interaction, he could go down there and say, "Hey, here's what you did wrong. You need to fix this." He could be a jerk about it, even though I don't think he should, but he could do it in the flight school. And the fact that he instead decided to do that while that guy was in the airplane, still in the air for part of it, is incredibly unprofessional and inappropriate, I think.
And not only that, I mean, the guy was on a check ride. I mean, that's certainly not anything that you want to have thrown in there extra.
So so short of an in-flight emergency, probably the most stressful situation that guy's going to be in an airplane. And this controller's like, let me make it worse.
Yeah, no, some people will say, well, maybe that controller just was having a bad day. Well, okay, we all have bad days, but when you're doing your job and you're on the radio, you have to put everything all out of the way and focus on doing your job right. And as you said, air traffic control services are there. The service is for the people flying the airplanes. That's why they're, I mean, I hate to say it, but if it weren't for the people out there flying airplanes, they wouldn't really have any reason to be doing their job, right?
Yeah. And the other thing is I mean, I've ran into this a couple of times in the various places that I've flown around, but it kind of frustrates me when control authorities will use local landmarks like that. I've flown in a number of places that do that, right? And I don't think they shouldn't do it, but in my mind, I always kind of feel like it should be on the pilot to use those first, or if there's a control interaction where there's like a positive identification, the controller knows some guy that's flying in and out of there every day. I think that's one thing, but to be using a landmark that's probably not going to be on any aeronautical chart or documentation. That just doesn't seem like a good practice. And once again, like I mentioned earlier, they're working with a local flight school. It seems easy enough to have a big map on the wall of the flight school and just have the controllers have a clear understanding with the flight school. You know, like, hey, these are the things that are common around here. These are the things you should be teaching to. It'd be really easy to say, like, that hospital is a really common visual reference point for where that we use to turn base or something, or that hillside or that school building. And once again, sort that out on the ground rather than, you know, getting very confrontational in the air.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I just would like to add one point here that regardless if that was a check ride or not, the controller was, it's not on his role or on his duty to escalate the situation. Getting a heat argument on frequency, like, what's the point of that? Like,
Right.
he didn't speed up anything. He didn't help anything with that. Probably they shouldn't. I don't know if it was his first check ride or not. And he got nervous because it was something that he was not expecting. And for us that are now sitting here listening to the episode, making the recording, it's quite easy. But we don't know about the pressure, how was the check ride, how that student was feeling by the time he was on the check ride. So maybe just something that sounds really simple, like extending a downwind, could add a lot of pressure on him. And regardless of that, I don't think that was the role of the tower controller to escalate the situation and getting some snarky and some rude comments on frequency. So
Absolutely.
And absolutely, well, I think we all agree that was really unnecessary comments from either side. But if I understood correctly, this is a small place with an air school controllers that they probably will end up having lunch at the same restaurant on the next day. So what is interesting is that some places they bring the controllers closer to the pilots or to the airplanes, or eventually they take the controllers with them on the operations to actually show them, hey, this is how our life looks like. Take care of us. That's what we need from you guys. And on the other hand, some pilots have the opportunity to actually visit the tower and see how stressful to be a controller is. So this kind of communication can be trained as well. This kind of understanding from both sides, or I would say some empathy from both sides, that can be taught, you know. And I believe that it can be trained. At the end of the day, we can surely say nowadays is a multicultural world we're living in right now. So we have to clarify all those things.
Yes, good point. Our live audience is making some really pertinent comments regarding this whole thing. KFC make good winglets. Had mentioned that does the controller not know to clog the air, and of course Blackhawk is agreeing with him, saying, yeah, clog the frequency. With their argument is not it's a safety issue when they do that. And then Super Fred Driver, our C5 Super C5 guy, who I had a nice meetup with not too long ago here in Atlanta. The examiner tried to de-escalate, and Tower seemed to want to prove a point. Should have been handled over the phone with cooler heads. And yeah, the examiner, somebody else had made the point that the examiner had tried to diffuse this entire situation and say, hey, look, just this is not the time to do this kind of training. You know, let's talk about this, you know, when everybody is cooled off a little bit and, you know, in a different atmosphere and a different venue. Oh, I see. Mazoots is making a very good point. This controller is practicing for his new job at John F. Kennedy International. Yeah, he'd fit right in, wouldn't he? Anyway, I'm hoping I'm not hoping that this controller lost their job, but I certainly do hope that somebody took him aside and said, "Look, what you did was, as we just said, very inappropriate. Don't do this again. And if you do, then maybe you should be worrying about finding some other kind of a job." And one last comment before we move on. Blackhawk and our live audience says, being married has helped me deal with air traffic control. I'm sorry, my fault. Oh, that will get you a long way for sure. I'm sorry, darling. Well, don't say darling, probably to the controller. Unless you really know that. I'm sorry. I'll try harder next time. You're right. I was wrong. I'll try harder next time. That doesn't always work, but, it's a good place to start, I think. Yeah, it helps. Okay, and let's continue on with, let me take a brief moment to try to load another video file, and hopefully, again, it'll work. And this is another tragic accident. And to set it up, let me start by saying from airdatanews.com, the Italian Air Force's aerobatic team, which is...
Frecce tricolori.
See how well I pronounced that? Here, that deserves a bell right there. Oh, yeah, thank you. I practiced that accent too. They were just taking off from Turin, Italy, when one of the jets had some kind of trouble and the pilot ejected. And anyway, he did manage to eject, and he ended up safely landing. But the aircraft ended up hitting a car where a family of 4 were traveling. A 5-year-old girl, unfortunately, passed away. And let me see if I can share this video of the crash. You see the team in the background. And you can see the ejection and the couple swings of the parachute before the pilot landed. And also, I think, sadly, at the very beginning of the video, was, I think, probably one of the cars that was hit. A family of 4 was in the car. And as I mentioned in the news article, a 5-year-old child died. And I also should have mentioned that this was sent in to us by APG community member Giovanni. And he said, yeah, here's the news of a terrible accident. And he mentions the 5-year-old girl dying in the car involved. Thank you, Giovanni, for sending that in. But yeah, very, very tragic situation. All right. Really not much to say other than we're not sure exactly why the airplane, or the pilot of the jet had to eject, but there are some people surmising that they may have had, or speculating, thank you, that they had a bird strike possibly. I don't know much about the particular jet here. It's a Aermacchi MB339 jet. I think it's a trainer. Certainly looks like one anyway. It looks like a front and back type of military training jet. Do you know something about it, Camacho?
No, not a lot. Not other than what I just read on the internet before the show. But yeah,
looks
single
like
engine airplane.
Single engine, yeah.
It's one of the unfortunate aspects of a single engine jet, right? Is that there's not a lot of margin. You're still flying a jet airplane with a jet wing, and when you have engine issues, it doesn't leave you a lot of options.
Right. Yeah, it's unfortunate, but that's the reason why they do have ejection seats in these kind of jets. And sadly, there are times when, to save the pilot's life, that they have to hope that the jet doesn't involve any innocent bystanders. And in this case, it looks like it did, which is
and I think it is important to note it's tremendously unfortunate what happened to the child. But when you look at the pictures, it's not a heavily developed area, right? Like I feel like based on this picture at the top, that we're showing here, going off that runway, if I was in an airplane and I had the opportunity to eject or fly the airplane to the ground, the first thing on my mind definitely wouldn't be like, well, if I eject, what about the people my airplane's going to hit? Because there's just not a lot of structures or things around there. So
No, and you really don't have time. I mean, it was a very, very time critical thing that, if you wait too long to eject, then you're gonna die and possibly involve innocent people as well. So, yeah, as Blackhawk in our live audience says, every pilot's nightmare, probably staying with the airplane wouldn't have changed the outcome. Yeah, you're right. I don't think it would have. And Jim Fulton is saying that the MB339 is the Italian equivalent of the BAE, British Aerospace Hawk, I'm told is the way you pronounce that. All right, so yeah, so hopefully we'll learn something about that incident and what caused it in the future. Yeah, this is one that I think is quite interesting. We talked about this, I believe, on our last episode. The accident of the and how you pronounce that again, Liz? Ural. Ural. No, Ural. Ural. A320 at Omsk en route on September 12th, 2023. They had a hydraulic failure, ran out of fuel. The title really doesn't do a very good job of summing up what happened here. The flight was flying from Sochi in Russia to Omsk. And they had alternate aerodromes of Novosibirsk, and they talk about their fuel load. And anyway, the reason why we're updating this is that on the 14th of September, investigators summarized the interview with the captain of the flight, stating that the aircraft had been inspected without any anomalies for departure from Moscow's.
Домодедово.
That's from a real air traffic controller in Russia, Vlad. Hope you're still listening, Vlad. We haven't heard from you in a while. Anyway, so they were going from that airport in Moscow to towards Sochi. And then the flight from Sochi had been normal until, I guess they started in Moscow, went to Sochi, and then to Omsk. And the winds were gusting in Omsk. The aircraft was heavy, so the commander decided to not take the risk of trying to land in Omsk and decided to take the aircraft to Novosibirsk. During the go-around, a hydraulic failure occurred after gear retraction. This is some of the information we didn't know last week when we talked about this. We knew they had a hydraulic failure, but we didn't know at what point the hydraulic system failed. And so we were thinking maybe the gear was stuck down, but apparently the hydraulic failure occurred after the gear was retracted. Green hydraulic pressure was lost. Nose gear doors remained open as a result of insufficient hydraulic pressure. They computed the fuel and found that they should have about 1,200 kilograms of fuel left in Novosibirsk. While in flight, the fuel quantity suddenly began to critically decrease. The crew declared an emergency, instructed cabin crew to prepare for emergency landing, and began to look out for a suitable landing field. And that's actually where they landed, in a field. When only about 5 minutes of fuel was left, they spotted the landing site and landed the aircraft there successfully. Only the nose gear was fractured. On the 15th of September, so just 5 days ago, the airline reported that following the go-around, the crew was monitoring their fuel usage, which was fine. Only after crossing the point of no return to Omsk, the fuel quantity suddenly began to critically decrease about 70 nautical miles short of their top of descent. The crew did not wait until fuel was exhausted, but began to immediately prepare for an emergency landing. Spotted the landing site from the aircraft when only 5 minutes of fuel was left and landed with 200 kilograms of fuel remaining. In pounds, it's about 441 pounds of fuel. That is like, we're on fumes at this point. Now, interesting to me, in the interview with the captain, said that coming into Omsk, the winds were, what did they say? The aircraft was heavy and the winds were gusting, even though I didn't see that in the METAR. But the commander, the captain, decided to not take the risk of trying to land on the runway in Omsk and decided to try to get to their diversion airport. So looking at the METARs, for around the time of this incident, the winds were 9 meters per second, 060 degrees, 9 meters per second, no, and again, unless I'm reading this wrong, I don't see anything about a gust factor there. And I used a conversion app to, that's about 18 knots, 17 and a half knots of wind, 060. Now you may ask, well, what runway was in use there? Well, they have a couple of grass runways, but their asphalt runway, the hard surface runway, 8,202 feet long, 2,500 meters long, runway 7. So the winds are pretty much down the runway, just 10 degrees off the runway heading at 17 and a half knots. Again, I'm thinking, well, that sounds like pretty decent conditions in my mind. Maybe somebody might disagree with me here, but I'm just kind of scratching my head why the commander decided that the weather conditions were such that it wasn't safe to land at Omsk, and instead made this diversion, which of course failed spectacularly. Oh, Liz thinks perhaps he had a girlfriend in Novosibirsk. That's possible, I guess. I don't know. So let's see. Guy,
Well,
Garama, you're a just to inform people of your credibility. You are an airline pilot, and you fly what now currently?
Yeah, I flew the 320 most of my life. I started on
Okay.
737s, and
Mhm.
I flew as well the 330 and 787. After
Mhm.
pandemic, I managed to get back a job on the 737 again. That's what I'm flying.
Mhm.
And I actually fly to Novosibirsk, which is the capital of Siberia. And I didn't fly to Sochi, but I have no idea where this other city is. And like
Yeah.
you said, I thinking about the Airbus philosophy of calculating uh, when you have a hydraulic failure, and it depends on which stage of the flight you had that failure. Basically, if you had that failure with your gear down, the consequences are different than when you had the failure with the gear up. It depends basically when that failure happened. So you have to consider the fuel, the extra fuel you're gonna burn when you have that kind of failure. So it basically, I don't know if this gentleman took care of that part. I'm reading through everything what you said, and the fuel penalty is about 25%. So that's quite a lot to think about another hour flying away. I don't know. And like I said, I didn't see any gusting here. I'm not familiar with Omsk, that place. So again, um, interesting stuff to see decision making process happening all the time, and how people actually got to their final decision on diverting, or actually, okay, I can't divert anymore, now I have to put the plane down.
Mhm.
So it's not the first time we're seeing this part of the world things happening like that. So basically the line of thought over there is a little bit more goal minded. That's what I would say.
Okay.
So
Mission, priority, right?
yeah, I believe those guys fly very safely, to be honest with you,
Yeah.
because I've flown with some Russian colleagues here, and they are very, very knowledgeable. These guys are very good pilots.
So maybe almost in
So
this case, maybe a little bit too conservative, and not understanding
yeah,
the implication
yeah.
of that extra drag
Hmm.
getting to the alternate. Yeah, I don't know. As I said, I was just kind of scratching my head thinking, well, I don't really see the danger in the original destination airport. And of course, now I'm sure they're looking back at it, going, "Yeah, we really probably should have tried to land at the destination airport instead of going somewhere else." But
Yeah, that's true. Well,
um,
everything can happen, but I think that Black Hawk says that he was an Airbus pilot, so of course the winds are too gusty. Yeah, Airbus is sorry. We are gonna go into those three biblical discussions. One of them being Boeing versus Airbus.
mhm.
So
Yes. And we
yeah,
never do that here. We never
yeah,
discuss the pros and cons of each airplane.
Yeah, the other two biblical discussions and controversies are basically good versus evil and Santos Dumont versus Wright brothers. So we are not going to go into that.
Oh my goodness. I didn't even think about that. And
No.
certainly
We are
you
not
had to
talking
bring it
about
up.
that. Of course, they will love me for that. But
Go
Airbus, to be
Brazil.
honest with you, yay! But Airbus, to be honest with you, I really like to land that kind of airplane on crosswinds. It's not hard to land an Airbus on a crosswind, but as the experienced pilots and people that are trained on it, they know and they understand the philosophy behind the flight controls architecture. So what they have to do prior to land, what they have to do before the last 500 feet, the last 1,000 feet, things change quite dramatically on the very last few meters or feet of the flight. And I'm sure that he had a good reason. It's basically a way to try to get it out of him and see, hey, why did you do that? So it's interesting to see how this. I'm familiar with decision-making process and how to create those kind of structures, but I would like to understand what he thought on creating that decision. Sorry, I blabbed about too long.
No. I'm sorry. There was some control room conversation going on there. Some behind the scenes things. So sorry I didn't chime right back in. No, very, very good commentary. And I'm so glad that we have somebody like you who has experience in both of those worlds of Airbus and Boeing and all the others.
And they are both beautiful as long as they paid salary.
Exactly. And they're both wonderful airplanes in my mind.
I
So
love them all.
Yes, I love them as well. All right. Okay. I think hopefully we'll get a better understanding of exactly what the thought process and decision making process was, or maybe not. Maybe we'll never hear anything else about it. But it was an interesting one. But I mean, I tell you what, if you're going to land the airplane on something, a non-prepared surface, made for landing airplanes, well, that was a great place to land that airplane. And, nobody was injured and they did a great job. So hats off to the pilots there as far as the actual landing was concerned in the field. We're going to continue with another video. And Nick Camacho, you're the one that. Oh, this is not the one. Oh, okay. Sorry. I misunderstood. So never mind the thing about Nick Camacho. We're going to go ahead and play this video. And I think, will it be self-explanatory, Liz? Or okay. So let's find out, shall we? From Bass Aviation, Real Aviation Communications. Okay, and the airplane looks like just took off.
Hey, mayday, career track 319, bird strike.
Okay, looks like another flight school call sign, or sounds like a flight school call sign, career track. Just shortly taking off in a high-wing Cessna.
Career track 319, roger. If you need to slide over to 17 left, if there's enough runway there, wind 200 at 3, you're clear to land if you can.
We're trying to get some airspeed, career track 319.
Okay, based on that commentary from the tower, they were taking off on 17 right, and it looks like the longer runway 17 left was still off to their left, and perhaps some of the runway remaining, but it looks like our accident pilot decides to continue to try to fly the airplane, get some speed, and get the airplane to climb.
Climbing, able to maintain slight climb.
Attention all aircraft, everybody else remain at pattern altitude. Do not approach the runway. Career track 319, any surface you can get to, you're clear to land.
Great controlling there, taking control of the situation, clearing everybody out of the way, telling so that there's plenty of opportunities for this pilot if they need to come back to the airport.
Career track 319, might have to put it down on the golf course over here.
There's a golf course off.
Wind calm, altimeter 3020.
Slightly to their left, but almost straight ahead.
Crew check 319, we're able to maintain a slight climb. I'm going to put it down on the golf course. Crew check 319.
Crew check 319, roger, we're rolling the gear. Crew check 246, change to 17 left, runway 17 left, clear to land, your base is approved.
17 left, clear to land, crew check 246.
Crew check 600, possible fault on the runway, follow the Cessna, turn and base, change to 17 left, runway 17 left, clear to land.
17 left, clear to land, look out for FOD, crew check 600, number 2.
Wind 200 at 3. Crew check 319, are you still with us?
And the video is showing the aftermath of
Crew
the
check
touchdown.
600, would you guys mind doing a low approach and flying south out, straight out there and taking a look at the golf course for us?
Yeah, we'll do it. We'll report as soon as we can. Crew check 600. All right, Towers, crew check 600. We got a plane, a Cessna, upside down in a field over here. We look like there's 2 people walking away from it, though.
Crew check 600, roger. Can you tell if the field is the golf course? Is the field near the golf course for the crews there?
It's right in the middle of the golf course, but it's not on any of the fairways. It's right next to the pond over here.
Roger.
Okay, they're showing some photos of the airplane on it's upside down, it's on its back, and both on board walked away uninjured. So another great job, well handled by the pilots in the aircraft. Well, I'm assuming there were both pilots in the aircraft. Yeah, wow. So we talk about on occasion, especially in general aviation, single engine general aviation propeller aircraft, the what do they call that? The impossible turn, where people have been tempted to, in this situation, to try to get the airplane turned around and make a big U-turn or more back to the runway that you took off on. And I think in most cases, unless you have ample speed and ample altitude, it's the reason why they call it the impossible turn is that it's usually impossible to do that maneuver. And in this case, the pilot flying looks like they did a great job of understanding that that was probably not an option for them and that they had to look for a place to put it down. A golf course is a very nice thing to have in front of you when you're looking to land, when your engine has failed or is failing. And looks like it was a good decision to do that. Get a Mayday call. That's true, Liz. That's something that we're finding more and more happening here in the United States. I know that our guests from the other aviation podcasts know that it's pretty much a universal thing around the world for people, instead of declaring an emergency, to say Mayday, Mayday, Mayday. And I think, I don't know, my anecdotal experience and understanding is that we're hearing that even here in the United States more and more. And perhaps
Yeah, and funny enough, I know that there are some differences between the FAA rules and the ICAO rules, which are the rules that are almost equal across the globe. So yeah, according to our standard phraseology, we need to use Mayday to start emergency calls. And another call that we use, it's Pen, but that's for another day, for another hour. Just don't want to sidetrack a lot here.
Yep, you're right. Camacho, good decision on this in this case.
Yeah, yep, definitely. Like you said, the frustrating or disheartening part of the impossible turn is a lot of times if you can't make it, it results in if it's mishandled, right, it results in a much more significant accident than an engine out landing straight ahead with the airplane under control. So especially in this scenario where the guy had, clearly had fairly flat land in front of him, he was able to identify suitable field for landing. The airplane did flip over, unfortunately, but it's, that in the grand scheme of things, that's pretty minor. And did a good job of maintaining control of the airplane all the way to the ground versus, the possibility, would have existed. I'm not saying that this guy would have, but, if he would have started turning back to a runway, you get 3/4 of the way there and you can see the runway out of the top of the windshield and you're not sure you're going to make it. It's just so enticing to just, pull just a little bit more to get there. And that's when bad things start happening. So definitely a good decision. Both guys were fine. The airplane will fly again. So.
Well, Tim Van Ram in our live audience makes a very good point. If you have a bird strike over a golf course, is that considered a birdie or an eagle? I don't know. Yeah.
It depends.
It depends,
If
really.
he's
on
from,
how big the bird
if
is.
he's from Embry-Riddle, is illegal.
There you go. Good point. Good point. I was going to say the biggest contrast here in my mind from that first incident with the student pilot with the examiner and at San Carlos and the air traffic controller here in this particular situation was night and day. This is the way to control. This is the way to have a handle on the situation, make everything as easy as I can for the pilot who is having the trouble. And, it's just, well done by the air traffic controller here on duty. Yeah.
And the controller didn't ask anything, right? He just said, do whatever you need to be safe. That's it.
Yep. Yeah, and I'm a little disappointed, I have to say, that he didn't ask him to get the current ATIS information.
Nor asked him like, why are you turning base at the golf course?
Exactly.
Souls on board, endurance, and dangerous
Souls
goods.
on
Also
board,
important.
fuel remaining. Dangerous goods, maybe. I don't know. It's like
two lithium batteries on board, 2 iPhones, probably.
So, it was nice that he said basically everybody else there on that frequency, hey, this is a dire situation going on here. Don't even try to go toward the airport. Just stay out there. Do whatever you need to do. Get out of the way. Stay out of the way. And everybody really played well there as well. They didn't clog up the radio frequency with anything and just clearing it to make sure that this is going to be a good, happy outcome. So well done. Well done. Camacho, this is the one I believe that you added to our news. Why don't you take it? This next news item from CNN.com.
Yeah, sure. So the title of this is Airline Executives Raise Alarm That Controller Shortage Will Continue Disrupting Flights for Years to Come. The air traffic controller shortage will continue to cause travel disruptions not only next year, but for at least the next 5 years, airline industry executives say Tuesday. The flight system is suffering, they said, citing the 3,000-person controller shortage that the Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg revealed in a CNN interview earlier this year. It will take 5 to 7 years of hiring to break even if all goes well. Airlines for America Chief Nick Kallio said at the Global Aerospace Summit held by U.S. Chamber of Commerce in Washington, D.C. Do we need 5 to 7 years of further disruption on a daily basis? I don't think so.
Yes. Oh, no.
Kallio, whose organization represents the major airlines, said that even if the Federal Aviation Administration hired the maximum number of controllers who can progress through its single certification academy, it is not going to be enough for a rapid recovery. He proposed allowing universities with air traffic controller programs to provide the certification courses, as he said other countries do. He said major U.S. airlines would also encourage the Federal Aviation Administration to lower flight levels at major New York area airports, the region where the FAA is most severely understaffed, again next summer. In the spring, the FAA asked airlines to dial back summer flights by 10% at airports such as Newark, John F. Kennedy, and LaGuardia. Last month, the FAA extended the policy into October. You want me to keep going?
Only if you want to, but basically the gist is,
I think
we're in big trouble, right?
Yeah. And I just bring this up, and the basis of this article is a report from, like I said, Secretary Buttigieg, which happened back in the spring, but I didn't remember whether or not we touched on it. But the thing that I think is interesting and concerning, the pilot shortage comes up a lot on our show for obvious reasons. But as critical as the pilot shortage is that we are also entering a period of time, probably in the next 5 years, where we're going to have a significant aircraft mechanic shortage, and as it sounds like a air traffic control shortage. So I think that our transportation system as a whole is going to see significant pain in the next 5 years. I don't know if it'd be growing pains or just transformational, but man, it seems like we got to do something to get the ship back on the to get the train back on the tracks.
And you did say ship, correct?
I did.
Okay, very good. I was going to ask our Brazilian friends, what's the situation like in Brazil as far as shortages regarding pilot shortages and or air traffic control? Is it the same kind of situation going on there as well?
Well, my understanding of the shortage, it's not happening in Brazil, that's for sure. After the pandemic situation, not all companies picked up again. So there are still unemployed pilots in Brazil looking for a new position to be back online, etc. And most of these pilots are actually expatriating and coming to the Middle East. They're going to some places in Europe where they accept you without a passport or some sort of a work permit. And this is quite a hot topic here in the region as well because of this pilot shortage. Sorry, it's actually opening paths to go to US to work in America. And there are specific types of visa that can be people can apply if you have enough experience to go to America. So as far as I'm aware, in Brazil, we don't have it. And we are receiving a lot of pilots here in the Middle East. And many of them are rethinking and rethinking their lives in terms of long careers, and they're actually going to US. And I think, like Nick said, we need to do something. In fact, that something is on the very beginning of things, like in schools, and actually to incentivize kids on the aeronautical industry. And guys, let's get together, let's get connected, and let's be some sort of motivational path for these kids to actually enjoy the careers, right? My understanding is that we have to love the job that we do. And if we can share that love with them, this is one of our missions here as well.
Yeah. And especially in our team here, that we have some type of support for pilots that want to join the industry, especially in the airlines. João, for example, he works on preparing candidates for the screening process of airlines here in Brazil. I try to teach them the little English that I know, so they can apply for the ICAO English certificate that we need to have in order to fly internationally, because we are not native in the language. And we've been seeing that companies, they are hiring, but let's say, for example, that a company opens a job position and they have like 20 jobs available, so they have to hire like 20 pilots. On the other hand, you are seeing that like 500 people are applying for that. So there are people that are capable enough, that are well trained within the legal requirements that we have here in Brazil. One major difference is that we don't require a candidate to have the ATP like you guys have in the United States. So in order to work here, you just need to have your commercial license and some other minimum experience requirements to work within the airlines. But also the business aviation side here is looming a lot, and there are a lot of hires on that segment as well. So lately, like Guilherme said, some some airline pilots after the pandemic, they started to rethink their goals and what they wanted for their lives. Some people are leaving Brazil, are going to the Middle East. There has been a spike here of people applying for the EB2 visa in order to work in the United States and get hired by the airlines over there. And some pilots just had enough with the airlines, and they're now migrating to the business side of aviation down here.
And it's kind of a sad thing. I think that a lot of people to try to improve their English speaking skills will listen to aviation podcasts like the Airline Pilot Guy show to figure out how to speak proper English, and that's just so sad. I think as a lot of
We
people
had a
will.
long discussion, long compliment to you
Yeah,
yesterday.
yeah.
Come on,
Yeah,
come on.
sometimes we bring like some American pilots that live in a state in the southern part of the United States in order to help our audience, that kind of stuff.
Uh-huh, uh-huh. Well, I would say that some of the folks in our live audience are in that other part of the world that is a predominantly English-speaking country, and they don't agree at all with your assessment of how we speak English here in the U.S. But thank you very much. I'm glad that we have friends in Brazil. UH Blackhawk in our live audience says, and yet the FAA shut down the 2 remote tower test beds, one in Virginia and the other in Colorado. Interesting.
So that's another interesting thing about our system. I don't know if you guys in Brazil or anywhere else do this, but in the United States, we also have, the FAA staffs, I don't know, 70% of our control towers, but we do have a fair amount of contract towers that are privately operated towers or private, usually I think retired FAA controllers, but they're not FAA employees.
Yeah. So down here in Brazil, the main part of our air traffic control system as a whole, not just the tower, but also approach control and center control, it's all handled by the military here. So it's all part of it's a branch of the Air Force. You have some private towers, but that's really limited here, and only for small airports. So, for example, for international airports here, you're going to be talking to a military controller.
Okay. Yeah, and the other thing I was going to mention is, San Luis Obispo, where I used to live in California, they also have a contract tower. I think that the controller we discussed in the earlier article was maybe a contract controller. But San Luis Obispo, so they sent this note out a year ago now, and they said, airport users, due to staffing at the air traffic control tower, touch and go operations, as well as opposite direction VFR practice approaches, will not be authorized during the times listed below. And they list, Tuesday, Friday, and Saturday, basically 6 o'clock to 10 o'clock in the morning and 3 o'clock to 8 o'clock in the evening. So that's how some of the airports are managing, is they're just trying to limit the operations that are occurring on the airport. Now, in my mind, that gets weird because, when you start thinking about other businesses being impacted on the airport by that, like if you're operating a flight school and you can't essentially go out and do flight training from, the first 4 hours and the last 6 hours of the day, it seems a bit challenging.
Yeah.
But it's a problem they got to figure out how to solve. Yeah.
Yep. Oh, look at this. Do you guys know this guy named Felix Niemeyer?
Yeah, you should. Yeah, that's our boss.
He's keeping tabs on you guys. He wasn't able to make it. He says, "Hey, dear APG and Farol de Pouso
You
team."
can call us Landing Light. It's easier.
Okay, Landing Lights. Thank you, Landing Lights podcast. I'm extremely happy to see you all together on the show. Hello from my crew transport going to my next duty. I wish I was there online. And he says, "Enjoy your time. Keep up the great job." He's talking to his fellow hosts of the Landing Lights podcast I've given up trying to pronounce it, the Brazilian Portuguese pronunciation. Anyway, so yeah, Felix, we miss you. It was nice meeting you and talking with you yesterday on your show recording. And let's see, let's continue on just quickly. We'll just have one more item in our news. And last but not least, this is from CBSnews.com. And this is sent in to us from Robert in Tucker, Georgia. A plane crashes on runway behind the American Heritage Museum in Stowe, Vermont on Sunday. Oh, Massachusetts, excuse me. Stowe, Massachusetts. Is there a Stowe, Vermont as well? Okay. Oh, okay. Stowe, Massachusetts. And this is from, I should have known, MassLive, MassachusettsLive.com. And this picture that you're showing here and was included in the article, Liz, looks like a postcard to me. They applied some kind of color filters or something on this thing. It just does not look real, but it's real. A pilot was able to emerge mostly unscathed after his plane crashed at the end of the runway behind the American Heritage Museum in Stowe, Massachusetts on Sunday, September 17th. The caption for the photo says that officials said that a single-engine plane landed upside down after its landing gear failed to work. So the landing gear didn't work, so let's just go ahead and land upside down. That's some mad piloting skills, if you ask me. That's sarcasm, by the way. Officials got a call about a single-engine plane that crashed near Barton Road near the American Heritage Museum. Upon arrival, crews found a World War I era Newport 28, a single-engine plane, at the end of the runway. It was upside down on its roof. I've never heard of the top of an airplane referred to as a roof, but okay. The pilot, who was the only person on the plane, was able to pull himself out of the aircraft. He did not report any injuries, but was evaluated at the scene as a precaution, officials said. Authorities said the plane flipped over because its landing gear failed while trying to land. Yeah, looking at the photo, yeah, I can see it looks like the gear is a little bit compressed and resting against the lower wing of this biplane. And yeah, clearly the landing gear did not do too well on this landing surface. Jim Fulton in the UK says Denzel Washington in a Mad Dog right there. Yeah, not quite, Jim. I think he managed to land it upright in that field, right? Anyway, Main Man Micah says many of the articles said that the aircraft landed on its roof. Yeah, and the fixed landing gear can't fail to work. That's true. Well, it can fail to work if it collapses. I guess it wasn't an extension or retraction issue in this case because the gear is always extended. Yeah, exactly. Liz said the problem is that the gear did retract. It's just not supposed to. It's not designed to do that. Anyway, so we're glad that the pilot got out of that unscathed, and looks like the airplane sustained a bit of damage. Hopefully they'll be able to restore it to its World War I glory. And then Tim Van Ram, always a wisecracker, typical Harrison Ford landing. No, Harrison, yeah, it wasn't a golf course. That's true, Liz. All right, that's enough. We had fun with that. And it's time now to get to know us. The time of the show where, yeah, as it's named, we get to know each other, get to know us. And let's see. We're going to get to know some new people. I got to know them a little bit yesterday, although it was actually, to be honest, and kind of embarrassingly, I didn't really get to know these guys very much because they wanted to know more about me. And
you
know
couldn't
me,
stop talking about yourself, could you, Jeff?
You're right, Nick.
but that's for what we paid him to do. We paid him.
Wait, I thought you said no. We're not going to discuss the payment.
And you follow the script to the line.
Thank you. Yeah, but they kept asking me these questions, Camacho, and I had to answer them. Otherwise they weren't going to pay me. Anyway, so let's. Who wants to start from our Landing Lights Aviation podcast in Brazil? Let's go ahead. Are you okay? Go.
Is
Guarama.
Enrique
Guarama.
pointing to me? Well, thank you.
Yeah, he is.
My name is Guilherme Pigato, and like you were saying, very hard to pronounce. Forget about it. Just go for Pigato. We are fine. And we are from Farol de Pouso. I am a volunteer with these guys. I'm basically one of the guys that decided not to be 100% active because I'm doing other stuff as well, but I'm volunteering with them. And basically everybody here is a volunteer. And just a quick story about our podcast is Felix, who was here with us a few minutes ago, and he's going for a flight right now, along with João Victor and Conrado and Guilherme, the other Guilherme Zimmerman. They started this podcast they gave this name, Farol de Pouso, which is the landing light, in order to help people, in order to shed some light on people's career and try to help people somehow by doing something. And in the very beginning, they started how can I say that? It's just streaming their flight simulator sessions that they were doing, and decided to go through the podcast. And basically, right now we are podcasting people's stories. So that's why we invited Jeff, and we invite people with relevance in aviation and aviation history and aviation scenario, where they can literally shed some light on people's life. And we understand that we are a small podcast, and this is basically us on our best day of our lives, talking with a APG community. And Henrique is laughing at me right now, and he can't hold his mouth. You can see it's just basically from ear to ear. And if you think about what is the need of a landing light on an airplane, we basically use that thing for less than 0.1% of the flight, right? Is takeoff and landings, basically. It's not that we, as Farol de Pouso, we are a very small part of your lives or somebody else's life, but that very small part is actually helpful and needed. And that's what we think we can do. Farol de Pouso is not only a podcast, it's also an English school and assessment preparation guidance. That's what Felix does the best, and João Victor as well. So they prepare people to go through airline assessments. In this part of the world, in the Middle East, is a little bit more than an interview. So it's an interview, sometimes a flight simulator scenario, and sometimes an English test, sometimes psychological assessment, etc. So these guys are actually specialized on that topic. And they have a side part of the, let's say, the company, which is not a company. We do it for free. And not this part. This part is actually a service that they provide. So that's Farol de Pouso. That's who we are. Henrique, I leave to him to introduce himself. I don't know where João is. I can see him on my screen right now.
Yeah.
But, the other guys such as Conrado and Felix, they are flying today. And Guilherme Zimmerman, he's in Japan, just getting ready for his next flight. He's going to Mexico today. So yeah, we are the lucky ones who are here.
Oh, who's the captain? A380 captain. Which one?
That's Felix. That's
Felix. Okay.
Yeah,
the boss.
So Felix is a captain. Yeah, Conrado as well, trainer, and I'm a first officer, and João is a first officer, and Henrique is just lazy.
Oh.
Yeah.
Ouch,
I mean,
ouch.
I would love to love in San Carlos and get some arguments with the controller, but anyways. So my name is Henrique.
Henrique was the last one to join. I'll just share the word with you. But he's basically the new hero of the podcast. Go ahead, Henrique. Go ahead.
Yeah. So my name is Henrique. I joined the team this year in 2023. Initially starting as one of the English instructors. Like I said earlier, I try to teach the little English that I know to pilots, especially trying to help them to get their ICAO certificate in order to fly internationally. And that's also a requirement here for the airlines in Brazil. And also, I started being a part of the production team here for the podcast itself. So they are calling me hero because lately I've been hitting some home runs, especially the one with you, Jeff, on our guest lists. And I just help them, and also I'm trying to migrate my career currently. I work on the IT sector here in Brazil, and thank God it's all on home office, so I don't need to worry about like getting to the office, and I can make everything work on my schedule here. So pretty much, yeah, that's all about me.
At the end of the
Awesome.
day, Henrique, I said that he was lazy, but at the end of the day, he's the one that works the most of us. So he's 24/7 on the WhatsApp. As you can text, he will reply to you in a minute. It's impressive. This guy does not sleep. I am pretty sure he does not eat. I have no idea what he does for a living.
Yeah.
But that's
Yeah.
who he is. He's a
Yeah.
new hero here.
Yeah, so sometimes you can see myself yawning on video, even though we don't use the video part for our podcast, but that's not because the guest or the conversation is not interesting. It's because the lack of sleep is knocking on my door.
Oh man. Well, that reminds me, 24/7 hero, and just not lazy in the least bit. A little bit of our producer Liz, except for the opposite. No, I'm just kidding. It's just exactly like Liz. Just kidding, Liz. Yeah, except Anike sounds like a nice person. Yeah.
Yeah, at least I sound.
No,
He's
Liz,
great.
we love you,
He's
Liz.
He's being humble. He's great.
Yeah,
And
sounds like
here's
it. Oh.
another founder, or one of the founders of the podcast. Take it over, John.
Hello, I'm back.
Great. Welcome back. Yeah, your volume is super low for some reason. Let me see if I can bump up your microphone setting a little bit here. Okay,
Hello.
give me a countdown.
Hi, 1, 2.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like it's using the mic on your headset.
Let me just set here.
Okay. Oh no, we never run into these difficulties ever.
How do you hear me?
Yeah, it's just very, very faint. I don't know why it's maybe you should leave StreamYard and then come back in, and I promise I'll be looking for you coming back in, and that might sometimes help with the situation as far as the connection is concerned. Like close your tab and then come back in.
Is it still low?
Yeah, still.
Okay.
Oh, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
I'll leave the studio and return.
Yeah, leave the studio and come back, see if that fixes it.
Just don't click the red button.
Yeah, don't. Oh, I don't think they have that on
Did
there.
you? Okay.
You mean the button that a pilot should never press?
Yeah, the exact that one. Don't press that one.
And if I may add, while John is trying to return, what we did yesterday, if we can explain the audience, is that we invited you to be part of our podcast. So for us, it was a great honor because actually it's been a few years that I listened to your podcast since around episode 150, something like that.
Hello.
I was preparing myself to come. Hey,
and we hear you.
Can you hear me? It's better now?
Yes.
I'm using my Max mic. So
Okay. Let me just check one thing. I'm sorry. You interrupted Guilherme.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Guy.
He's going to extract his
That's
vengeance
okay.
and revenge.
He will punish me.
Yeah. Okay.
Go ahead, John. Just take it over.
Yeah.
No,
Go ahead,
please.
John.
What am I supposed what am I supposed to say? I don't know. I wasn't listening to you guys. I'm sorry.
I'll tell you what, Guy, if you don't mind doing what you were just talking about, in
Yeah, exactly. So I'll continue and then John take it over. So
Okay.
we invited you to come to our podcast yesterday, and we were very happy that you actually managed to come because what we did in the past was to listen to your podcast to improve our English skills. Because as we all know, we were born and raised in Brazil, surrounded by ocean and Spanish speakers countries. So our connection with English is very, very small in terms of geographic problems. So the fact that the podcast is there and then we can actually listen to the things that we like, and we can listen to the things that we actually interested in, that we are preparing in terms of career. Your podcast is very important for the Brazilian community. Not only yours, obviously, there are other people doing a great job as well. But
no,
it's been years.
that's
How
not
many?
true. That's not true. No, we're the only
He
ones,
buzzed me out.
and we're the best. Okay, don't you
I
forget
know,
that.
I know.
Okay, just
we are
kidding.
just following your path, and that's
Follow the
that's what is
script.
important. Follow the script. Oh my goodness!
He doesn't have
never
a script.
had
I'm just kidding.
this is the wildest day in my life. I never thought that I would be talking and having fun with you like we had yesterday. It was a beautiful day yesterday. It's been a pleasure today as well. And it's really important what you guys do because, like you said, we pay a lot of stuff to make this thing run, and we don't get anything in return, or whatever we get in return is not enough to call it a job. But we make it work in order to give something to the other people. So it's basically a voluntary job, and it is really important. And sometimes people don't appreciate because it's free. So we do. And one way to return a little bit of this gratitude that we have for something that you've done, that Nick is doing, and people are doing for a long time, is that you guys helped me to get where I am right now. You guys helped me to actually, fine tune my ear for the English accent, some terminologies that I didn't know. A lot of things actually helps. So listen, it's just a language? No, it's the main language in aviation industry. So at the end of the day, it's very helpful to everybody. And just to keep John up to speed, we were introducing ourselves. I kind of introduced you a little bit. If I may share the word with him right now, I'm gladly do so.
Well, thank you so much for what you just said, Guy. That's it really touches our hearts, and we're glad. And it's just amazing that you're out there doing this, volunteering, not only the podcast, but also all the other things that you're doing to help the people of your country uh, succeed in their aviation dreams. And I'm hoping that just this brief exposure on this little podunk aviation podcast that we do is going to help you in some way to increase your audience. And as I mentioned on your show yesterday, I think a lot of people take for granted, and podcasts are great. You can listen to a podcast. You don't have to pay a darn thing for them. But fortunately, there are some people out there, a very small percentage, but even that small percentage of people that actually do contribute or donate something to your cause really, really helps in so many ways, covering costs and also encouraging those people doing these creative endeavors to continue what they're doing. It's hard to not emphasize enough that we really, really do count on those who have decided to give some value for the value that they're receiving, and we really, really love our coffee fund cadre, our coffee bar club members for their contributions, however small. It doesn't matter. They all add up. And I mentioned on your show yesterday, and hopefully you'll keep that part of it in. I know you'll cut out most of everything that I've talked about and slim it down to just maybe instead of the 6 or 7 hours that I was spent talking about myself, you'll maybe get it down to like 3 hours or less. I don't know. But I did mention that, I kind of put out a plea there for those listening to your show. Hey, these people, yeah, they're doing it for free. They knew what they were getting into, but come on, give them $1 or whatever your monetary system is there, and help out, because as little as just $1 US, or whatever that equals to your currency, it really does help. And so anyway, I'm hoping that our audience here will subscribe to your podcast. It doesn't cost a thing to subscribe to a podcast, and it really does help. And their YouTube channel as well. Hitting the subscribe button on the YouTube channel, and giving a thumbs up on every one of their videos they put on YouTube. That works for us too, if you want to do that. It really does help the algorithm, and it helps them to grow their audience and help them do what they're doing so unselfishly. And now, John, your turn.
Oh my God. Do I need to present myself? That's it? That's how it works?
Yeah. And don't forget to tell everybody how great the Airline Pilot Guy show is. And, it's all part of the money that I'm going to be sending to you. Right?
If I show you the recommendations I send to my students, you are on the top of the list.
Thank you.
Sir, and I'm not paying lip service. It's for real. It's everything that Guy said is true. So it's a very useful and good podcast for us to practice and to learn something new. And I listen like for hours, and I suggest my students as well to do the same. So I am, as you thought that I was underage, and I'm 24, and
Aww.
I'm
a little baby.
A little baby, yeah. Sometimes the flight attendants and other staff, they ask if my mom knows if I'm flying, if she allowed me. But yeah, I got a permission to fly underage with
good.
CAA. Yeah, it's good. Everything's legal. Jokes apart, I started my flight career in 2015. So my private pilot by beginning in 2015, and I've been flying an airline since last year. Actually, I've been flying for 1 year and a month. So before that, I flew as a flight instructor. I flew Embraer 110, so-called Bandeirante, and a Phenom. I had the opportunity to fly in the corporate aviation for a couple of months, and now I've been flying the jets for 1 month and 1 year and 3 months. So, and together, along with Felix and Conrado and the guys, helped to create the podcast, because the Farol de Pouso Instagram already existed at the time. Felix created it in 2020, in the middle of the pandemic, and 1 year later, we decided to create a podcast, trying to bring interesting people and to enlighten someone's path, in order to if we could talk to senior people and experienced people and listen to their stories and try to learn a little bit with them. So that's what I think I'm summarizing already what the guy said, but that's it.
Oh yeah, but you said it so much better than they did. No, I'm just kidding.
No, please. My English is way worse than theirs.
No, you guys are doing a great job. Let me tell you, your English is so much better than my Portuguese.
I already said you are just 3 words shy. You are 3 words shy to speak Portuguese better than I, so don't worry about that.
Just try to use a Spanish accent and you speak Portuguese as perfect as we do.
Okay. Well, I don't know about that. Tim Van Ram, and I don't know about this guy. APG is the best for learning 50% English. Yes, we always shoot for that 50%, that bar. Like, we guarantee we're at least 50% correct.
That's the listening part. The other part is speaking, so they can't speak back.
That's true. That's true. Now,
So
if we were to rate, yeah, exactly. Thank you for pointing that out. A little extra money goes to him. There we go that way. What was I going to say? Oh, I was going to say about the 50% rating. Unfortunately, Tim Van Ram falls in that lower half of the accuracy, and 10 percentile, Liz says. Sorry, Tim. No, he provides a lot of entertainment. Sorry. I'm sorry. I'm listening to Liz in my ear and I can't speak straight. Anyway, so again, so nice to have all three of you, and I know there are more of you in your organization and your podcasting endeavors, and your more importantly, your endeavors to bring aviation information and encouragement and inspiration to the people in your country. And yeah, anytime you guys want to join us again in the future, that'd be wonderful. And I'm glad that you're part of our APG community. As I guess you're just part of the whole aviation podcasting community in this world. And it's small, but it's an important aspect of what we all do. And Camacho, we would like to get up to speed with you. How is the airplane engine replacement saga going for you?
So I received the engine on Friday.
Mm-hmm.
I successfully got it off the truck and into the hangar without any issues.
I noticed in a picture that you sent us on the crew that the engine in the crate was there, and there was a really nice looking little tractor that was used, I guess, to wheel that thing around.
Yep.
Did that come with the engine, or was that something you had to buy separately?
You would think.
It should.
Yeah. No. I borrowed a tractor with forks. We moved the engine around. Got it opened up. Everything looks real good. So I spent a fair amount of the weekend actually. We pulled a jug on the Luscombe, and Dad and I fixed a jug on a cylinder on the Luscombe. But then beyond that, I'm still kind of in preparation mode to get the engine installed in the Debonair. Got it caught a little off guard receiving it, like 3 months before I expected to. So kind of rushing around to get everything prepared for that. But that's about the extent of what I've had, what I've done. Yeah, football with my son, and working on airplanes in the hangar. That's about all my life is these days.
And apple pie, and what's the other thing that's American?
Gridiron football. I was going to say gridiron football, since we have a bunch
gridiron
of
football. That's right. Yeah, not the kind of football you guys are used to.
Footballers. Yeah.
The one that you actually play with your foot.
Yeah.
Yeah, you guys. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I know it's probably a misnomer. That's why we say gridiron football. But I hate to tell you, but ours is the best. Just kidding. Anyway, what have I been doing? Liz is asking me. Let's see. Do I need to go and look at something here in the Getting to Know Us segment? Well, of course, I'm always doing the thing at my church, and did that again last weekend. And let's see. Oh, before I go on with what I've been doing, which isn't very much, we need to get an update on the great Toronto meetup last Friday in Toronto. In Toronto, of course, at the craft beer market in downtown Toronto. Talked with Paul Juracek, and he basically said that it was kind of a dud. Nobody showed up except for Paul. So I'm sorry, Paul. But hey, you people in Toronto and the surrounding area, you let me down. You really did. Just kidding. Sorry, Paul. Maybe next time we'll be able to promote it a little bit more, and we'll get a little bit more participation. But yeah, thanks for making the effort. And for those of you out there who are in different parts of the country, and you want to get together with like-minded aviation enthusiasts, do your own meetups, and then send us some feedback, some pictures, some recordings, whatever. We'll be happy to play that on our show. Anyway, so I'm doing the singing thing, and then of course yesterday was an amazing time. Had a great time talking about myself for 3 hours on the Landing Light podcast. And yeah, so that was a heck of a lot of fun. And then to top off the day, after that great time on their podcast, I went to one of the guys that plays guitar in one of the ensembles that I sing in. It's a more modern, contemporary kind of music. Not really super contemporary, but just more contemporary than what we traditionally do. They both of the guitar players play in various bands, and they've been doing this for many, many years. And Jody invited me to come to this restaurant, bar, club, grill, where they were doing some live music. The name of the group he was playing in last night was called Java Monkey 2.0. I guess Java Monkey 1.0, the original, was a big deal here in Atlanta in the early 90s. And so they've kind of been getting back together. I think they were doing a wedding gig or something in Virginia, like somewhere in the coast of Virginia or North Carolina or something like that. And they thought, hey, let's do this on a more regular basis. So that's what they're doing. And so I listened to them last night, and man, they're really, really good musicians, and it was a lot of fun. And I'm going to go to the other guitar player, plays bass in the ensemble that I sing in, is going to be doing a show with Banks and Shane in Woodstock, Georgia, tomorrow night. So I get to go and see him play. And yeah, I've been a social butterfly lately, Liz, that's for sure. And I'm going to go to my choir director's husband, Dr. Jackson's. He conducts the Cobb New Horizons band, I think it's called. It's a big full band that they're doing a concert, I think, Sunday night. So, I mean, I'm just having a great time going to all these live music events. So, yeah, I don't have time to fly, Liz. And that's pretty much it for me. I do want to cover the cover art in Nick's absence, Miss Liz. So I'm going to share that. Yeah. Here we go. Let's see if I can find it. Share. Okay. And then we're going to, oops, that's not the right one. Stop sharing. I was sharing that one of the guy with the inflated eye. Yeah, I don't want to do that one. Let me see if I can get the correct one this time. Share. And if you hit the share button, Liz, and let me know when you're doing that. Okay, last episode's cover art, the title, McDonald Doggass and Harvey Rabbit at the O'Hareport. Now, we kind of made a combination of some title suggestions from our illustrious live chat folks, chat people. Trolls, you might want to call them. And this is what Captain Nick, our resident artist genius, came up with to kind of illustrate the title. And so there's a picture of was that a bulldog, I guess, there, that looks like it has some kind of green emission from the back part of the aft of his body. Methane gas emission. Yep, global warming. Got to be careful. And there's a very large rabbit. You'll remember in our last episode we talked about the lady that had a very large rabbit in a stroller in an airport gate area. And the poor rabbit is unfortunately having to breathe that noxious, toxic emission from that dog at the O'Hareport. And so it was relatively easy for me to spot the show number in this artwork. And I'm going to go ahead and no, does it always do that? See if I can zoom in a little bit. There is 5 over there in that part of the image. And let's see if I can scroll this thing over. I need to practice. I need to go to rehearsal next time and see if I can figure out how to scroll this over to where Nick was able to hide the 8 on the overhead bin on the right side, just to the right, our right of the hare, the large rabbit, and then the 5 below that on the passenger service units. Yeah, he made it easy for us to figure out where he put the show number in this imagery. So thanks, Nick, for doing that again for us, and hopefully he'll be able to do the show art for this week's show, even though he's not here. I'm going to see if we talk him into helping us out with that, because you certainly don't want to see what Liz comes up with, because oh my gosh, she's creative in many, many ways, but not in art. Actually, I'm saying that I really don't know. Have I ever seen any artwork from you, Liz? Negative, she said. If it's not a spreadsheet, she doesn't do it. Okay. Anyway, maybe Camacho, are you an artist? No, he's shaking his head. No,
Definitely not.
Okay. Well, it looks like Captain Nick gets to keep that job. He does not know that yet, but we'll let him know. Okay. It's time for the coffee fund, Liz is telling me. So this is when I go over here and push this button that says coffee fund. And this is where you all get to sing. It'll sound horrible, but we'll do it anyway. I love coffee. I love tea. I love the APG community. Coffee and tea and the Java and me. A cup, a cup, a cup, a cup, a cup. Oh yeah, nice job. All right, coffee fund. It's your way, dear listener, to support our show financially, only if you have the financial resources to do it. So if you need your money for like the roof over your head, for clothing, for food, for flight lessons, which is the most important of those things I just said, then don't send us money. Really, honestly, we're going to be okay. But those of you out there who are just rich beyond all means and don't know what to do with all their money, well, send some over here. Yeah, Bill Gates, if you're listening to our show, or Elon Musk, come on, cough up some money, send it to the APG, and send it to the Lightning Light Brazilian Aviation podcast as well while you're at it. Anyway, so a couple different ways to do that if you're inclined. You can use the Airline Pilot Guy Classic method, which is basically a PayPal donation page. We don't have any one-offs this week, but we do have a couple of recurring contributors, Jen Niffer and George Hollis in Scandinavia up there. Thank you very much for those recurring contributions. Most people, though, when they're doing recurring contributions, use something called Patreon, and you can find out more information about all these different ways to support the show by heading over to airlinepilotguy.com/coffee. But Patreon, basically, you can become a patron of the show, contribute or pledge a certain amount per episode, and you can put a cap to that. Don't worry. We're not going to start doing a show every day. I mean, Lordy, we can't possibly ever do that. Anyway, so you can say, you know what, I want to give $1 per episode, and don't take any more from me than $4 or $5 or whatever. So there are ways to manage that. So if you want to do it, I mean, we're not telling you have to. And a very small percentage of people actually do contribute. But if you feel so inclined, as I said, value for value. If you get any value from this show, send us some value. And we thank you very much for that consideration. You'll be glad you did, and we will too. All right, and now it is time for our feedback.
Captain, incoming message.
All right, let's go to full super source. In other words, I'll take myself off the spotlight here. We are now in pause mode, sort of. Not really. We're still being recorded. But if anybody needs to take a quick break for physiological purposes, or if you have to go, and not go, but like leave, you're welcome to do so. I don't want to keep you up all night. How late is it now over there, Guy?
Right now is 1:20 in the morning.
Oh my gosh! Hopefully you don't have to get up early tomorrow morning or this morning.
No, I don't.
Okay.
In a few hours, I'll take the kids to school. Yeah.
Oh gosh.
João apologized, and he had to leave because he has a student to take care of right now.
Well, that's important.
So
Much more important than being
Yeah,
here
yeah,
on the
yeah.
show. Okay, good. Okay. Well, please
Yeah,
convey to him. Thank you for
Yeah.
taking the time to join us today. That was awesome. And
he thanked you a lot as well.
okay, great. Nick, are you good?
I'm good.
Okay. How about, do you need to go to the restroom? No, I'm just kidding.
I'm good.
Let's see. Let me get this window closed here, and I think I'm good as well. Let's see. So I just played the feedback bumper, and we're going to go right on into this first piece of feedback. We're going to start with this from Andy Harris. He says, "Hi, Cruz. I'm going to pose this question to both." I was thinking, "Hi, Cruz. What does he mean?" "I'm going to pose this question to both of the best aviation podcasts at the same time." Oh, Andy. Oh, he's talking about Landing Light and APG, I think. No, probably not. He probably never heard of Landing Light. I think he's talking about that other one, Opposing Opinions, or whatever that's called. Opposing Pilots. Yeah. So anyway, he's going to see what our various perspectives are about this. His question is, how did 9/11, 2001 play out with general aviation? Now, we've heard all the stories, right? And this is me speaking. All the stories about how it affected commercial aviation, mostly airline Part 121 flying in our country. But yeah, it did affect various segments of aviation here in the U.S. And so he's asking about, how did it play out with general aviation? I'm thinking about all the bug smashers flying around, not talking to anyone. Did they just continue to fly until they landed? Information didn't get around that fast back then. That's true. I'm also thinking about the remote middle of nowhere pilots like crop dusters. Were they grounded too? Or people that needed helicopters or small planes to get on and off their property? What did ATC do to reach out to the pilots not talking to anyone? What would prevent a pilot from taking off in their front yards in Montana if they didn't hear the news? I noticed that there isn't a lot of general aviation stories from that day, so I'm curious to see what you all remembered. Thank you for the shows, Andy. Now, Camacho will probably be able to kind of give a perspective in general aviation. After I continue talking a little bit more, we're going to go to Nick, and he might have some perspective regarding that. My perspective, of course, is in the Part 121 scheduled air carrier world. Right now, Liz, go ahead and put up that first item. This is the flight data center special notice. Notice to air. Back then, it was notices to airmen. Now notices to air mission. The NOTAM read, "Due to extraordinary circumstances and for reasons of safety, attention all aircraft operators. By order of the Federal Aviation Command Center, all airports, aerodromes are not authorized for landing and takeoff. All traffic, including airborne aircraft, are encouraged to land shortly, including all helicopter traffic. Aircraft involved in firefighting in the Northwest, U.S., are excluded. Please read this notice over the emergency frequencies and VOR voice." And so also pop up the next one, Liz. So this is a graph that's showing the aircraft operations at the time, in the days before and the days after the 9/11 incident. And interestingly to me, look at the number of general aviation operations happening when this thing all went down. And there were, let's see, this particular point here looks like somewhere over 100,000 general aviation operations occurring at the time, and I was very surprised to see that. And air carrier operations were down just under 40,000, about 38,000 or so. And then a smaller number of air taxi operations, and then military operations were down pretty low, which is normal. But yeah, so everything on this graph just drops off very, very rapidly to pretty close to zero at the very bottom, and then the next day 912, there ain't nothing happening. But as far as the what happened with general aviation, I did my own research here, found an article from let's see, where was this from? Shutting down, let's see, text message blogs.archives. I'm not sure where this is from, sorry. It was written by Megan Dwyer, Special Access and FOIA Program Archivist at the National Archives at College Park, Maryland. Freedom of Information Act is the FOIA. September 11th, 2001 began as an ordinary day in the U.S. air traffic control system. A Federal Aviation Executive Summary describes the day as severe clear. Yeah, it was beautiful. It was an amazingly clear day, a perfect day for flying. Pilots exchanged good days, good mornings with air traffic control, and then the NOTAM just went out that I just read. By 9:03 a.m., 2 hijacked planes had crashed into the World Trade Center's North and South Towers. And responding to those attacks, the FAA issued the first national ground stop in the nation's history, prohibiting departures for all civilian aircraft, regardless of destination. And so they go in a little bit more about what I just discussed there with the graph and the operations, etc. But the next article that I have here from the Airplane Owners and Pilots Association, AOPA, does a very good job of talking about what happened in the general aviation segment of aviation, and the fact that they were shut down as well. And in fact, this article goes in to talk about how the government was trying to limit VFR and IFR general aviation operations for an immediate period of time, but some suspected that they were trying to shut it down like on a permanent basis, which I'm so happy that did not happen. Aren't you? Come on, Joe. But
Yep.
yeah, in fact, let me read this paragraph here from the GA grounding. In the weeks following the attacks, forces in the government were working hard to ground GA permanently or severely restrict our freedom to fly. And the hardest hit, and we've already talked in this show already about the flight school operators. Flight school operators and FBO, fixed base operator owners, at first found the shutdown of air traffic and airports understandable and a small price to pay. But then they realized as time went on and everything else seemed to recover in the country here, commercial aviation and business aviation was recovering quite well. With general aviation, that wasn't the case. And now this is when Nick is going to kind of tell us his perspective of, wait a minute, were you born, Nick? Were you?
I was just going to say.
I forgot that it's like been a while ago, 22 years ago. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was a freshman in high school, so I was not quite as active.
So you weren't there. You were out there flying. Huh?
I had just started flying gliders, actually.
Okay.
And so it was coming to the end of the season. It didn't really affect me. Yep, there we go. So yeah, it didn't have aviation wise. Obviously, it didn't have as much of an impact on me back then.
Well, but being in the world of flying that you're in mostly, I know you're in other aspects of aviation as well as far as your job is concerned, but your actual exercise of flying is in the general aviation world.
Mhm.
And your beautiful Debonair that you're restoring and fixing up, and Lescom, I think that's your dad's airplane, right? The Lescom.
Yep.
So that's your work, and the work that you do, volunteer work as part of the crew of Betsy's Biscuit Bomber, the C-47 that you crew on as well. That's all general aviation. Of course, that's more specialty aviation, of course. But as far as what you've been able to gather, because that's your world,
Mhm.
have you heard of any of the stories of people that were actually out flying during that time?
Yeah, I mean, I remember anecdotally hearing a story of a crop duster, like out in southern Kansas, who was flying for 2 or 3 days, right? Because he the way that his operation is like they were talking about, taking off out of your front yard, right? So a lot of these crop dusters who have small strips, or they're operating off of uncontrolled fields, technically, by the letter of the law, when you're flying, whether you're flying IFR or VFR, you got to have all of the you have to have the information required to complete the flight, or I don't remember what the exact wording is, but something like that, right? You're supposed to check the NOTAMs before you go flying. That is less critical. The depending on where you're operating, how familiar you are with the area that you're operating, it's not always as critical, because if you're flying into busy, large volume airports, they're always going to have NOTAMs, right? They're always going to have bird NOTAMs, but they're also going to have like taxiway closures and things you actually need to know for your flight. When you're flying like out in the less populated areas of the world with uncontrolled fields, it's highly unlikely that your actual flight's going to be affected by NOTAMs. So I suspect there were a fair amount of people that were not immediately aware of what's going on and kept flying for maybe a day or two even after 9/11.
Okay.
So
UH Blackhawk again chiming in. Some GA who didn't check NOTAMs were intercepted. The U.S. military jets got a chance to practice intercepts. Some GA airports in the D.C. area were shut for some time, and the airplanes were stranded. Yeah, I was just about to read a couple of paragraphs from this article that was written, again, the AOPA, the Aircraft Owners and Pilots Association article, which was written about on the 10th anniversary of the 9/11 attacks back in 2011. Frederick, site of AOPA headquarters, lies 15 miles southeast of the presidential retreat at Camp David in Thurmont, Maryland. For months after the attacks, and each time the president visited the camp, F-16 fighters patrolled the skies. We lay awake listening to the unfamiliar drone, missed it when it went away, and now react with concern when we hear it infrequently now. 2 uninformed pilots wandered into the restricted airspace at Washington, D.C., and were grounded and arrested at Frederick Municipal Airport. The historic airports around the D.C. area, the DC-3, which are College Park, Potomac Airfield, and Washington Executive Hyde Field, were shut down until February 14th, 2002, and still have restrictions placed upon them. This was back 10 years ago. I think they still do have some restrictions.
Yes.
It's part of that special procedure that you have to apply for and then follow very strictly, right, Nick?
Yep.
Okay. As the story goes to press, again, this is 10 years ago, or more than 10 years ago, the control tower at FDK, Frederick, is set to open this month. Interstates 270 and 70 have been connected, and AOPA, through its national efforts in the media and its embrace of the local community it inhabits, is known as the world's largest aviation organization, not only to its members, but to the world. Anyway, so they go on and talking about the fact that, they're doing their best to protect the rights of general aviation pilots here in our country, and they're doing a great job of it, by the way. So again, this was more than 10 years ago when this article was written. I'd say it's mostly kind of gotten back to normal, Camacho, right? Maybe a little bit more restrictive than it was before 9/11. You're muted.
The biggest impacts that are still around are that the ADIZ, the Air Defense Identification Zone, which is that area around Washington, D.C., encompassing those 3 unfortunate GA airports. So we got to spend a little bit of time in there with the C-47 when we were doing some of our stuff on the way to Europe. We flew over Reagan, and then we flew over the Arlington National Cemetery and the Pentagon. So that was a heavily background checked event and heavily briefed. And yeah, I remember, we all had our documentation with us because we were going out of the country, but they actually quarantined our airplanes the Secret Service. We were flying at the AOPA fly-in in Frederick, Maryland, that you mentioned. And at one point in the morning, the Secret Service actually came out and quarantined the airplanes, and then all the people that had completed their paperwork were basically escorted out to the airplanes to ensure that the people that had been checked were the people that were on board the airplanes and that sort of thing. So it was
And how recent was that?
That was 2019.
Okay, well, wow.
Yeah,
18 years after.
But we were flying. We weren't just flying in that ADIS. We were flying very close to some prominent Washington D.C.
Right.
landmarks. I guess you'd say. Yeah. And then the other one is, there's now like a standing TFR over sporting events and large gatherings. So I think it's like sporting events and concerts. There's like a standard 3-mile TFR that I think goes up to 3,000 feet or something like that. Obviously, that's not nearly as impactful to pilots. I mean, generally, unless the stadium is next to an airport, those can just be navigated about and around. But those are the two big ones that I'm aware of kind of having their origins in the 9/11 attacks.
Yeah, in this article they talk about into September 27th, 2002. Actually, before that, anyway, they established the sporting event TFRs. But some of the things that were really overly restricted or restrictive for GA were if you lived anywhere near a major metropolitan area with a class B airspace. I mean, if you were anywhere near that or underneath it or whatever, I mean, your flying was pretty much shut down for quite some time. And again, the good folks at AOPA were working really, really hard to, reduce or eliminate those restrictions. And finally, it was quite some time before they were completely lifted. But Andy's, feedback and question, good question. Again, mostly what we focus on here at the Airline Pilot Guy Show, mainly because, most of us are airline pilots as far as the hosts are concerned. So we kind of tend to kind of focus on that particular small segment of aviation. And sometimes we overlook or don't really think about, what the effect may have been on other actually larger slices of that aviation pie. And we thank you for asking the question and bringing that to everybody's attention.
It also kind of brings to mind, or it also kind of highlights the delicate balance that we have, right? You talk about I don't know if it was necessarily FAA or maybe legislators were working hard to limit or eliminate VFR flying. And, I'm sure there were some security aspects of that, but there's also a lot of benefit to various end users in the system if that were to happen, right? So we have this kind of delicate balance in our aviation ecosystem that can be, something like what happened on 9/11 kind of opens up opportunities for people to take advantage of the situation, right?
Yeah. What? People are out there taking advantage of things? Come on. It can't be right. Yeah. So, I mean, now having listened to that amazing analysis and presentation of general aviation activity during and shortly after 9/11, I mean, how could opposing bases do any better? I'm just thinking. I don't even think they should try. I think they should just skip it. Thanks, Andy. Appreciate that. Let's continue our feedback with. Somebody named. I did that. Sorry about that, Liz. I didn't mean to pop that up, but why not? Let's see. This is from Captain Tom, and he says, "Hi, Captain Jeff and APG crew. Wanted to tell you about a new app for airline pilots that can be downloaded today. It's called Jump Alert. At first, when I saw this title, I'm thinking, oh, is this like an app for us to use to know where Dr. Steph is flying her jumper dumper airplane, just to kind of warn us to stay away from that area? But no. Oh, that's jumper dumper alert. I'm sorry. It's so similar to this. Anyway, Jump Alert uniquely solves the problem of jump seating airline pilots being left behind at the gate because a flight crew did not know that someone was looking for a ride. In a nutshell, Jump Alert is a helping pilots communication tool that connects flight crews to jump seaters in real time. Here's how it works. The app uses your mobile device's GPS and will only show jump seaters at the airport you are physically located. An airline pilot can create a jump alert for other airline pilots to see by specifying the airline, the flight number, the from city, and then the to city the pilot wants to ride on, and then submit. Sign up super easy after downloading the app at any of the app stores. Simply go to www.jumpalert.com and create a user account. It's important to know that an airline pilot will need a referral code to register. Only an airline pilot who uses Jump Alert can refer another airline pilot with a referral code. After an airline pilot is signed up, they will be given their own referral code in the app to give to another airline pilot. This helps limit access to only airline pilots. Sorry about all you pilots out there that aren't airline pilots. But you wouldn't be able to ride the jump seat anyway, so. Also, it's important to note that Jump Alert is not a substitute for listing or any of the other normal procedures when jump seating. Yeah, don't rely on Tom's app you got to do all the other stuff, or otherwise they don't know that you're there. APG listeners who are airline pilots and would like to sign up today can use a referral code, which is APG Show. That's all lowercase, APG Show, all one word. And then you can get going with, or at least check out Tom's app. And there's a free version, and then there's some other pricing tiers that you can use. And right now on we're showing the screen share or the screen capture of what it would look like on your mobile device. I'm not sure. I haven't used this. I'm not a commuter, so it's not really going to be something that will be useful for me. But people out there that do commute, it sounds like Felix on the Landing Light podcast is a commuter, and jump seats, I guess, maybe, or maybe he gets like a full nice paid for by his airline seat to be transported from place to. Nope, he doesn't. Okay. No. So he's a jump seater as well, huh? The only thing that I can see that might be, I don't know, because as I said, I haven't used this, but I did tell Captain Tom that we will present this as feedback on our show if people want to check it out. Is that say for me, like I never think about the people that are jump seating to work unless they happen to be listed as jump seat requests on my particular flight. I mean, I don't use this app. I mean, I have it on my phone now because thank you, Captain Tom. He gave me a referral code to install it and put it on my phone. But honestly, I don't know if I'm going to really even think about using it. So and make it available or useful for other airline pilots, and maybe Tom, you can kind of let us know, what, I mean, is that an issue? Is that a problem? Or is that something that, more people than not are going to be aware of? People trying to, maybe the other pilots out there operating flights who are commuters themselves will probably think about it a lot more than somebody like me who, I always start from Atlanta International. I always end at Atlanta International. I just get in my car or take the train home. I don't know why StreamYard keeps muting me. It keeps telling me that my browser is not detected by in my microphone. It's kind of weird. This has never happened before, and I think it has something to do with the Brazilian people here that are on the show. I think they're sabotaging. I don't know why they would do that, but I think they
Never
are.
had any technical issues, right?
Well, okay, now wait a minute. We've had technical issues, but not this one. This is a new one.
Yeah, we are bringing you
We brought new stuff to you.
Oh, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Appreciate that. It's not a bug, it's a feature. Okay. Anyway, so Captain Tom, hope that helps. Hope the people out there who are listening, who are airline pilots who want to check out your app, will go and download it. Use the special referral code APG show, and if you do that, please send us some feedback and let us know how that's worked for you. I'm sure that Captain Tom would appreciate feedback as well. All right, Liz, number 5. Okay. Oh, yeah. We've talked about this before, but we said we would talk about it again as the event approached. And so right now it's just a couple of weeks away, a little bit more than 2 weeks away. Ray sent us in this feedback of the Delta Atlanta Collectibles Show and Sale. That's the 36th annual Atlanta Airline Collectibles Show and Sale. I guess they must have started just a year or so before I got hired by the major airline based in Atlanta. It's on Saturday, October 7th of this year, and from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. It's only $10 for admission, and if you have kids 10 years old or younger, they're free. And you go to the Delta Flight Museum and check out all the things that they have for sale, excuse me, aviation related items that range from airplane seats to models and playing cards. And again, we did get a clarification. The models that they're talking about here are actual airplane models, not high fashion models. So don't get your mind out of the gutter. Anyway, breakfast and lunch will be available for purchase, and all proceeds benefit the Delta Flight Museum. And so there's a little bit of information about who you can contact to get more of your questions answered about this. Again, that's the 36th Annual Atlanta Airline Collectibles Show and Sale on October 7th, Delta Airlines, Delta Flight Museum. So check it out. All right. Okay, we only have a half an hour to go, Liz is telling us. So maybe just a little bit less than that. So we'll see what we can do. We can knock out some more feedback here. Okay, so on an earlier show, a couple of shows ago, I think, 583, yeah, 2 shows, 3 shows ago, whatever. We talked about the article that we were using from the Washington Post called 5,000 pilot. No, wait, so that was not the title of that one. But it was related to pilots with medical issues with the FAA and disability claims with the VA. And again, it was from the Washington Post, and CJ sent us in some feedback. CJ Hammer, SCJ, he calls himself, and he references an article from the New York Post, which I looked at that one as well, and it was pretty much almost a carbon copy of the article from the Washington Post. They changed a few things, like the headline, which is a little bit more sensational, I think. But anyway, CJ had a response to the way we covered this article.
Hello, Captain Jeff, Captain Nick, Dr. Steph, Macho Man, producer Liz, and the rest of the PG crew. Airbus CJ here, and I wanted to respond to the episode 583 news article about 5,000 pilots being investigated for hiding serious health issues. To be clear, what is the problem is pilots not reporting that they're receiving a disability compensation when they apply for an FAA medical. May not have been your intent, but it came across as if some of y'all were saying that no pilots with disabilities bad enough to be awarded a VA disability compensation should be ever given a Class 1 medical. There's a block on the application form where an applicant is asked whether they're receiving a medical disability with a yes or no answer. A yes answer is supposed to be explained further. If pilots were saying no when they actually were receiving disability payments, then yes, this is now being caught, and answering no is falsifying a government record. Pilots who are answering yes and are explaining that the disability compensation is from the VA and why are, as far as I know, meeting the intent. I know some people don't understand how a pilot, especially a pilot in the 121 or airline world, could have a disability and yet still be safe to operate an aircraft with 200 people behind the cockpit door. However, the FAA's stance on this is that for certain conditions, as long as the disability is properly managed, the flying public is safe with that pilot in command of the aircraft. One common example mentioned in the article is sleep apnea. As I understand it, once a pilot participates in a sleep study and can prove that they're actively managing the apnea, the FAA says it's okay for them to operate an aircraft. Similarly, I have a friend who's currently an Acme airline pilot and a retired military pilot who had for PTSD from his service. The FAA requires him to submit therapist notes as part of his medical application to prove that the PTSD is being managed, and he's being issued a Class 1 ever since he got the diagnosis. He also gets disability compensation for the PTSD. I think some people may be also confused about why a pilot who's able to manage a disability should be compensated. I can't really answer that, but it's currently the law in the U.S. The VA is trusted to ensure the veterans claiming disability actually have a disability when they're being awarded a disability rating. I had to see a VA doc when I retired from the service to prove I had what I said I had. So, yes, veterans may be checking the boxes, as you said, but as long as they're informing the FAA that they're receiving disability, what's the problem? This discussion highlights we have two very different government agencies doing two different but overlapping things. We have one agency, the VA, who exists to ensure veterans are fairly compensated for service-connected injuries or conditions. Another agency, the FAA, existing, among other things, to make sure the flying public is safe. But so far, it is relying on pilots self-reporting conditions, and yes, some pilots are going to fail to report because they think it could ruin their chances of getting approved. But I don't think the vast majority of veteran pilots are, quote, dishonest people trying to get free money while still holding cushy airline jobs, end quote. I agree with Macho Man that the process could be less painful, but unfortunately, the pilot isn't really the customer, it's the flying public. And Captain Jeff, even if you didn't apply for benefits years ago, it's not too late if you have something going on that is service-connected. You served your country, and your country wants to compensate you for your service. So, blue skies and talons, Douglas.
Well, thanks, CJ, for clarifying that. I did kind of pose that question. I never had a chance to, or I don't recall a chance to ever check the box as far as the military stuff is concerned. And it's good to know that if I did have something health-wise related to my active duty in the Air Force, I can get the benefit from the VA, Veterans Administration. Now, I think you started off by saying I'm not sure you said this but it came across as this is what you guys think, and I went back. I'm thinking, well, I don't remember. I mean, it certainly wasn't my intent or our intent to give that kind of impression. And in fact, I think, and I went back and listened to our whole discussion about it. It was quite a long discussion, by the way. And I'm not really sure why you picked up on that. Although I think that what you were complaining about, as far as the way we covered it, and the idea that if anybody had any kind of a disability from the VA, that they shouldn't be flying, and nor I did. Wow, I don't know what's going on with my browser. My browser is thinking that I'm not talking. Maybe my browser is getting tired of listening to me. That could be it. Anyway, to continue wherever I left off. So again, it was not our intention to. I think that we're all on the same piece of paper, right, Camacho? I mean, I think that's what I was trying to point out here was it was a big news story. And the news story seemed to be from the people writing the article in the Washington Post was, oh, hey, look, these people have disabilities from their. Okay. What is going on? I know it's these Brazilians. It's got to be. Anyway, shoot. Well, I hope I can get a full thought out this time before my browser decides to mute me. Anyway, so the point that I was trying to make is that
So it's not showing the mute icon every time. The first time Liz said it at the beginning of this story, the mute icon was not up, and it was almost like you dropped out because of an internet issue. The second time, the mute icon definitely went up.
Yeah, I've seen it go up a couple of times. Are you hearing me?
Yeah.
Okay. I've seen it come up, and I've never seen that warning before. And it continues. It's just getting more and more frequent now. But yeah, Liz, we might have to do that if it keeps going on. But I would love to be able to finish my thought on this before we, because and I'd really like to cover Greg's feedback as well, and the shout out by can't remember who was wanting to shout. Sam, yeah, okay. Well, it seems to be doing fine right now, but as soon as I start talking about the FAA and the VA and medical stuff, it's a government thing. That's what's happening. All the monitors in the government are saying, okay, yeah, shut that guy off. Okay. So the point that I was trying to make was that the journalists, weren't completely focusing on the wrong thing. It's not that people were not safe to fly airplanes and get medical certificates to fly Part 121 scheduled airline service. It was that there were people that were checking the box for or getting the VA benefits, and then probably either not checking the VA box on their medical application for the FAA, or if they did check the box, then they didn't actually fill. Wow. Okay. I don't know how you're supposed to record a show when this happens. Well, anyway, I can continue because I'm recording locally. Okay, and then when I finish, you'll just have to try to do some lip reading if you're watching the video. Okay. Anyway, the point is, now I don't know what the point is I was trying to make, is that the people weren't. I'm losing my mind. Yeah, you know what? We're gonna cover CJ's feedback on the next
time.
episode. And I'm going to try to do a couple quick little pieces of feedback here. And if that doesn't work, we're just
Did his feedback sound fine to you in your headphones?
Yeah.
Because it sounded like trash to us, yeah.
Oh. So it must be my connection. I'm still on internet. I mean, I'm on hardwired internet.
Yeah, his feedback keeps going on and off.
Yeah, I wouldn't say the connection per se. Probably this was something related to streaming the audio file. I don't know.
Because it sounded perfect, what I was hearing.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's something related to me and my connection to StreamYard. I could always take myself out and come back in. I don't
see. Neil posted a comment here. Last feedback was very choppy here.
Mm-hmm.
So apparently the guys on the YouTube streaming there also here.
You're going down the tubes, man. Jeff, you just sounded bad right there.
I'm going to leave. I'm going to leave and come back. I don't think it's going to drop the whole show if I do that.
Yeah, because Nick is as you, right? So he should be the host for.
Oh, because I'm on the same account?
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So he should hold that.
Should, yeah. Nick, don't you leave. Okay, I'll be right back.
Hey, look at that. It worked.
Yeah. So we're still live.
Apparently, yeah.
That's good. Yeah. And that's the classical IT solution. Like, have you tried
Unplug
to
it, plug it back in.
unplug? Yeah. Always do
That sounds a lot like Airbus.
Ooh.
Talking from my perspective, yeah.
I mean,
just
no one is
without
paying for my
knowing it.
salary, so I can joke about both. That's not a problem to me.
I'm flying Boeing, dude, so I can talk about Airbus. But that's the funny part about aviation. When you come with this kind of situation, at the end of the day, we are just dealing
Yeah.
with a live problem. Aviation is like that. We are live. We have problems. We solve it.
Yep.
Airbus solution, Jeff.
Hello, hello.
Yeah,
You can hear me though, right?
Ooh, Tim coming with a good one.
Tim's apparently still bitter from February of 2020 when the Chiefs beat the 49ers for the Super Bowl.
Wow, he's holding a grudge that long?
Yeah. I would say last year, but they couldn't even make it to the Super Bowl to lose to the Chiefs last year, so.
Ouch. Yeah. Yeah, I'm finished trying CJ's feedback. I'm not doing that anymore. We'll do okay. All right. Let's continue with some feedback from formerly the Big Ass Fan representative. That is a real name of a real company that make really big fans, and who is now working for an engine manufacturer. See if you can figure out which one based on this feedback. All right. Let's see. I got to make sure that I'm ready to go with this. Okay. Hey, crew. It's been a while since I've sent any feedback, so I've got a couple of items. The first piece of feedback is in an effort to keep you above the 50% mark. In the feedback from Ham Radio Jim in episode 583, you said that the engines on the 737 MAX were geared turbofans, but they're not.
I have very little patience for stupidity.
The only engine available for the 737 MAX is the CFM LEAP 1B. The LEAP 1B is a standard two-spool high bypass turbofan engine. The Pratt & Whitney geared turbofan is used on the Airbus A320 and A220 families of aircraft, amongst others. By the way, I found out this week that there are more LEAP-powered, LEAP-powered A320 family aircraft than geared turbofan powered. Just a little toot toot for the guys at CFM. There you go. There's your toot toot. Now I have a question. Are you kind of picking up on what company Greg works for? Now I have a question about runway numbering and compass headings. I know that the runway number is the rough compass heading divided by 10. For example, runway 9 is a compass heading of 90 degrees. Runway 18 is a compass heading of 180 degrees, etc. What I'd like to know is what kind of tolerance is there in the compass heading compared to a runway number, especially at airports where there are more than 3 parallel runways. For instance, at Chicago O'Hare, there are 6 parallel runways that run east to west. 3 are numbered 9 to 7, 3 are 10 to 8. ATL is another example, which I know Captain Jeff is quite familiar with. Yes, I am. At Atlanta, there are 5 parallel runways that run basically east-west. 2 are 8 to 6, 2 of them are 9 to 7, and 1 is 10 to 8. How does this affect your compass heading when you're lining up for these runways that might not be exactly on the compass heading associated with their corresponding number? One last thing, I've already shared this with Captain Jeff, but with this new job that he has, they've decided to build a new house in Southwest Ohio. And as part of the driveway, we added a pan I'm sorry, I had to look away. That's why I said that. And as part of the driveway, we added a pad for Jeff to park his RV when he needs a place to stop once he begins his nomadic lifestyle. We look forward to having you visit. Yay! And I love it. I see my future home. I I hope there's no restriction on how long I can stay there. Anyway, to get to Greg's question about the go ahead if you
Yeah. So
have
I don't know.
have a,
I don't know how long have you guys studied the regulations. Dot tell us about that, but because I'm just recently got my CFI, that's quite fresh in my mind. So if you want, I can help on that.
Okay. Well, Liz, I have did I put in a couple of airport diagram pics in the in there? Yeah, maybe I didn't put them in Keynote. Dang it. I forgot to do that. Oh, I
Can
thought I
see
had
them.
been completely okay, hang on. Let me see if I can well, I put them in Evernote. That's not very helpful.
That's different stuff. Yeah, sorry.
Right, I can do it. I can just do it this way, Liz. Here we go. So I'm going to present and share screen, and then I'm going to go like this. I'm getting better at this, faster. Okay, here's Atlanta International Airport diagram, and we see the runways that Greg was referring to. At the top, we have the northern complex. We have runways 8 left, 8 right, 26 left, 26 right. Then we have the center complex, which is 9 left, 9 right, 27 left, 27 right. And then the newest runway that we have at Atlanta is runway 10, 26. And you'll notice if we zoom in a bit, I think I can get it to do this. Maybe not. I have to. Nope. It couldn't possibly be that easy. Let me zoom in to this, and now I'll share that. So I've zoomed into this airport diagram a little bit, and even though at the top you see it's 8 left and 8 right, if you look at the number right below the actual runway depiction, it says 095.2 degrees, and the one next one down, 095.2 degrees. Okay, so the actual runway heading, that runway is 95.2 degrees at this moment. And it's constantly changing, by the way, because the magnetic pole continues to move around. Not the true north, but the actual magnetic north does move around a little bit. So it depends on where you are in the world, how the magnetic variation and true headings, how they vary or differ. So look at the next, the center runways, 9 left, 9 right, 95.2 degrees, 95.2, the same exact headings as the one up there that call themselves 826. And also the one at the very bottom is 1028, but look, the number is still 95.2 degrees. Now, I think Greg's concern is, well, your headings are all going to be messed up. Now, we use the runway, they're generally named for the general magnetic direction, and usually when it hits the, let's say, more than 5, like if it's 95, then they'll go up to the next number, which would be 10, right? Or go ahead. 6. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It's 6 to the next one, and
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so your memory is a little bit, your knowledge is a little bit fresher than mine. It's been a long time since I did all this studying. But anyway, so they do, runway designations do change over time based on the change in magnetic location of magnetic north magnetic variation. But we have a problem when we have big giant airports like Atlanta and Chicago O'Hare and other big airports around the world, when all the runways are going in the same exact magnetic direction, but you need a way for pilots to differentiate, or pilots and other people to differentiate what these runways are, the names of them. So they get something close. So, instead of 9 left, 9 right, that would be confusing if you had 9 left and 9 right at the top, the northernmost runways. So they decided to call those 8 left, 8 right. And then down there, the same thing for the new runway, 10. So we aren't going, oh, wait a minute. It says runway 10, but my magnetic head indicator is showing 95.2. Well, that's not something that's a problem for us, because when we are flying airplanes that have instrumentation that allows you to actually do this. I mean, most modern airplanes now just automatically set it up for the exact magnetic heading based on the flight management system, whatever the runway that you put in there. But in the day when I used to fly these old ancient airplanes where you actually had to tune up the ILS frequency and then put in the course for the instrument landing system, we would actually put in a number that actually matches what the real magnetic heading would be for that runway. I think that makes sense. Okay, and Enrique, go ahead and add some more if you can clarify a little bit better.
Yeah. So there is this provision from ICAO that says that the magnetic the naming of the runway is going to be rounded up to the next 10th if it varies over 6 degrees. So from, let's say in this example that we were talking about 09er, regardless of the side, that's a whole different conversation. But the magnetic heading that is accepted for that naming is 86 to 96. So that's what they tolerate, and that runway can be called a 09er. Like we don't have like 095, 092,
right,
that kind of stuff. And the right and left and center, it's pretty much self-explanatory. Like it's the play when you have up to 3 parallel runways, you're going to differentiate them by calling them left, right, and center. And in this case, about Atlanta, I don't know the specific rules about that, but I know that when you have like up to 4 parallel runways and you have this kind of scheme of north and south complex, they change the name regardless of the magnetic heading that those runways should be called, just to make the differentiation for the pilots.
Exactly. Thank you. Neil Landwarm, I can't wait to see what he has to say here in our live audience. 9 left, a bit more, 9 really left. Yeah, see, that takes a lot of extra paint, Neil. And it's really hard to squeeze all those words in to paint those on the runway itself. But I like your idea, though. I mean, that's something that I'm sure that they're thinking about at the ICAO and FAA. All right. So I hope that helps, Greg. It's not really a problem. They just need a way to kind of designate runways so that we don't land or take off or cross the wrong ones. All right. And then finally, we're going to finish off with number 12 from Nigel Ward. And he says, oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, okay. Thank you. Let me start over. Okay, we're going to finish this out with feedback from Sam Bolog. And he says, my nephew, Nigel Ward, AKA November Echo Whiskey, who has sent you feedback in the past, has just entered officer training with the U.S. Marine Corps. Yeah, way to go, man. All right. And Sam wants us to give him a shout out for support. And hang on. I gotta get these ready here. Okay. Sam said, would you give him a shout out for support? I can forward to him on a weekend, the only time he will have access to his phone. So thank you so much. So, okay. So let's do a shout out to Nigel Ward.
Shout out.
How's that? Is that good? No? You want more than that? Okay. So shout out to Nigel Ward as you begin your officer training with the Marine Corps. Semper Fi, and good on you, and do well. And we're all thinking about you and hoping that you. Oh, okay. Was it Halls of Montezuma? We're supposed to be singing that too? I didn't get that part of the note. No, honestly, sorry. We're fooling around, but I do remember. That brings me back to 1981, October 1981. Way long ago, before everybody on this panel was born. I was entering. Well, it's not you, Liz, but you're not on the panel right now. You're just in my ear. It was when I started officer training school in San Antonio, Lackland Air Force Base, Medina Annex. And boy, oh boy, let me tell you what, I thought to myself as they were cutting all my hair off. What the heck was I thinking? But it turns out that it was one of the best things I've ever done in my life. It got me the qualifications and the education and the everything to get to where I am now. And I'm just about to end this very, very long and successful and very blessed career that I'm fulfilling. Yes. And so good luck to you. I hope that it goes well. I hope you were able to enjoy it as much as you can. I know the Marine Corps officer training school is probably a little bit tougher than the Air Force. You know, we always get jokes made here in this country about the various military services, and they're always saying that the U.S. Air Force is like a country club. Yeah, well, probably is more than most of the other services. That's true. I have to admit. But anyway, so shout out, Nigel. Hope you do well. What's that? Yeah, go get him. I thought you said Jim, and I went, have I been using the wrong word, the whole wrong name the whole time? Okay, so I hope that Sam appreciates that that shout out there. Okay, well, it's time to wrap up our show. Yes, most of you are going, oh, thank you, Lord. And the first thing we like to do. Oh, and get ready for the little image of the QR code. Okay. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to send you over to airlinepilotguy.com. It's our website, and it has like website-y things on it, like information about the crew and the community and the library and merchandise and information how you can send us money via the coffee fund and so much more. Check it out. It's airlinepilotguy.com. We also have a way for you, an easy way for you to send us feedback. And you can use that QR code right there. Just shine your mobile device or whatever technical gadget you have at that, and that should open up your email program and address it for you. And then you can either record some feedback and attach it to this, or you can just send us some typed in feedback, and we'll read it on the show. So check that out. And we're also on social media. And this is what Nick Camacho has been looking so forward to on the show, is that he gets to do our social media stuff.
Yep. All right. Our Facebook page is just airlinepilotguy.com. Our Twitter or X page is at APG Crew. Same with the Instagram, just APG Crew. And over to Hillel.
Well, I don't know. Do you think Hillel's here? I don't. Wait a minute. Hang on. I can hear some water running. Oh, he's just ending his shower. Hey, Hillel, can you tell us about Slack?
Okay, but I'm dripping wet.
That's okay. Come on, go back in there. Put the towel back on. Put the towel on. Okay. Now you can come over here because, this is a family show. And why don't you come and tell us all about Slack?
APG listeners, please join us on our Slack team. Slack is a communication, coordination, and sharing platform that works on your mobile, laptop, or browser. On Slack, we share news and ideas. We suggest episode and Plain Tales topics. We plan events and meetups. To get into the Slack team, please email me at slack@airlinepilotguy.com. That's SLACK, Sierra Lima Alpha Charlie Kilo @airlinepilotguy.com, or send me a tweet with your preferred email address to @Hillel, and I'll send you an invitation. That's Hillel, spelled Hotel India 11 Echo 1, and see you in Slack.
All right. Thanks a lot, Hillel. Thanks, Hillel. Oh, no. Let me see if I can figure out how to turn off the microphone.
Oh yeah! Delta P!
Sorry you had to hear that. Thanks, Hillel. Okay. And we also want to we want to thank Liz for all the work that she does behind the scenes and during the show and after the show. I mean, all of it, 24/7, just like
Enrique and I should be talking every night.
I know.
I know.
Yeah, don't do that. And so thank you. Oh, I'm supposed to hit the applause thing. There we go. There's the applause. All right. Thank you, Liz. You're awesome. And also, we'd like to thank our live audience. And if you want to join it, oh, by the way, if you're looking at our episode on the website itself, you'll note that we do have a link to our YouTube recording, because that's what we use to get everybody together and record this audio podcast. And if you ever have a chance, if you follow us on the social media, like Camacho just told you about, Liz puts out their notices when we are recording live. And let me say that you're going to have a great time if you show up someday to
A lot of smart
join
people
this.
in our chat room.
No, there aren't. Well,
then there's Tim and Ram.
There are really not that many in our chat room, but no, they are. They're very clever people, comedic-wise and also knowledge-wise. So thank you very much for you all for being there almost every week for us in the chat room. And also, before we go, we'd like to thank again our representatives of the Landing Light podcast that are still here with us. Thank you guys for joining us. And also, you need to tell everybody, how do we find out more about your show and where do we go to listen and all that jazz?
Yeah, so you guys can look up for us on Instagram at Farol de Pouso, FAROLDEPOUSO, or just find also FP Aviation, which is our page that talks about our screening and our mentorship programs that we have here. Also, we are on YouTube, Farol de Pouso. You're going to find the episodes over there. And again, Jeff, Nick, Liz, to the whole APG community, it was an honor and a pleasure to be a part of the episode tonight with you guys. Thanks very much.
We were so happy to have you here. Big applause. Congrats for you guys of your great podcast. Hopefully we'll send some traffic your direction. We're going to have all those all that information that you just told us in the show notes as well, so people can check you out. And finally, we'd like to say have a great week. Thanks for flying with us today on APG 586. And until next time, wishing you clear skies, unlimited visibility, and tailwinds. Take care and God bless.
See you guys next time.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you. See you guys. Bye, everybody.
Great stuff.
Yeah, bye, guys.
All right, got it. Oh, because everybody has to say goodbye.
So, anybody got suggestions for titles? I've got one that I love. I'll be honest, I love this one.
I don't want to hear it. No, just go ahead.
Jeff's new pad.
Jeff's new pad.
Get
at
it?
Greg's house. Yeah, I got that.
House. Jeff's new pad. I love
Groovy
it.
pad man.
But I have two others,
Okay.
and then I'll go to the chat room. Birdie or eagle? That's based on Tim Van Ram's comment about if you get a bird strike over a golf course, is it birdie or an eagle? But
okay.
Anyway.
Okay.
And landing on your roof.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, upside down. That's landing on your roof. Yeah, that's an interesting one as well. I just kind of I got giggled when I saw that on the caption. Tim Van Ram, show title offerings. Oh wait, I'm sorry. No, we were asking for title offerings, Tim, not tittle.
Tittle.
I'm not sure what that's all about.
I'm not sure if that was an error or not.
Yeah, Little Canary, Brazil nickname. Okay.
Yeah.
ABG.
He's talking about Canarinho.
That's the nickname for the Brazilian team, the T-shirt that actually Henrique is wearing.
Oh.
Ah, okay.
And
that's the Brazilian team.
ABG, a Brazilian guys. Well, that's interesting.
ABG.
So instead of APG, it's ABG. Aircraft
roofies. Sorry. Yeah, aircraft roofies.
From Micah. Neil says, what? No.
No.
Was there something else? Oh, okay.
No, sorry.
The Snug Tug?
Yeah, I'm not sure what that one's from. Sorry, I-Haul, I'm missing your allusion there. I don't know what
context.
That one is.
Good. I hope that a lot of Brazilians are going to listen to this and go over to your
and get
show.
50% of their English training from here.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And 50% of the 50% is actually decent. Is Jeff's RV there yet?
Oh, he's discussing RV nicknames. That was their Snug Tug. Was your new?
Gotcha.
Got it.
Fix
Okay,
it
guys. I
with
guess we'll just end the broadcast. You guys stay with us.
Yeah.
See you next time, everybody.
Bye. Yeah, don't leave us, you two.